Yeehaw. Let's see here. Are we live? Oh, all right. My friend Alex Jones has joined the chat. What's up, brother? So look, we have always it takes a few minutes for people to get in here, but we can play funny little songs while we do that.
Okay.
Perhaps,
You got Spanish.
perhaps
You got Spanish Flea queued up. That'd be good.
we got this.
If you believe in liberty, you'll vote for Tim O'Connor, 'cause he believes in the Constitution. And as your assemblyman, he will be your voice. He'll never let you down, make Tim rejoice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We finally had a man who hears your voice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Tim O'Connor is the only choice. Write in Tim O'Connor, Libertarian, for New York State Senate, Senate District 51.
Channeling 2020 vibes back there, right? With that. That was when this guy that's when I got like submarined by the local Republican Party, even though he was going to win by 30,000 freaking votes. They decided to get me off the ballot on a technicality.
You ran against Overacker, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Well, it's not hard to do.
It's a weird dynamic that we're living in this world, Cody, where they don't want democracy. They don't want competing voices. They don't want libertarians to have access to ballots, especially in New York State. Like that's obvious, right?
Well, anyone. It's not. So Republicans, don't have. Good evening, Shelley. the Republicans and conservatives don't want us to have it. Either to be on the ballot because we're different enough and more. If you ask me, I think the libertarian view is more mainstream. Democrats don't want us to be on there because we're sort of for their wedge issues.
Right.
And the Democrats don't want the Greens in the ballot either because they are, the Greens are their competition. So they'd rather drum us out of existence. That's the way it goes.
Competition, man. I did listen to a podcast today, Jimmy Dore. Are you familiar with Jimmy Dore?
I am familiar with Jimmy Dore.
All right, so he's obviously a left wing kind of hilarious human being who sees the same problems that libertarians see in very similar ways, and so he had some guests.
I don't see him that left wing, by the way. I see him a little more red pilled than
I'll call it self-proclaimed left-wing person. All right. If he's red pilled or white pilled, he got here from being a claiming to be a liberal. And he sounds very much liberal on lots of things that he proposes as solutions. So
okay.
They had some guests on. Oh yeah, Shelly, we're going to be talking about Proposition 1 for sure, but we kind of want to let the crowd build a little bit. I think it's a big deal to talk about Proposition 1 tonight. But so anyways, on the Jimmy Dore show, he had some Green Party guests, okay, that were like, we are not collaborating. They have started a committee that basically anybody but Kamala kind of thing. And they're like, we want to be anti-war. The Democratic Party is not anti-war, and
correct.
They need to listen to us. And we're voting for Jill Stein because we hope Kamala loses, because she is not who we want her to be, and she's a liar. Like that's basically what their basic premises were. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's 100% true. And I think, look, I know a few people who are Green Party members. Our own Todd Haggerty's wife is in the Green Party. A couple
really? All right.
Couple people who work for clients of mine are Green, and we have very frank conversations about. Believe it or not, we do have kind of common ground with the Greens. There is anti-war. Sure. There's a little bit of the FTP mentality that kind of bleeds over there.
I'm sorry.
You
Say
know,
that again. I missed that.
yes. Fuck the police was sort of my
Oh, okay. I
as you
got you.
no, and as you know, this it's more about the militarization than the police and defunding them, right? And
Oh
that
yeah,
you know and
these guys were talking about that too. They were just
yeah, and there's a fair amount of common ground. There's a young guy who's sort of the head honcho at one of the not for profits that I'm a client that's a client of mine, and we talk about this stuff all the time, and it's and really a lot of he's sort of been trying to keep the party alive as best he can and get people organized and things like that, but people have either left, they've either gone to the Communist Party,
oh, that's a
they've
bad
got they've
time. Yeah,
or BLM, or even back to the Democrats, right?
yeah.
For reasons.
For
And
reasons that don't make any sense. Like the Democrats have Bill Kristol, Dick Cheney, Robert Kagan, the whole Project for a New American Century, like these neocon psychopaths that pretend to export democracy at the point of a gun,
well,
and yet,
and the Lincoln Project people, right? Like all the
oh
Lincoln Project people
God,
who
they're the
like
worst.
they are the worst. And there was a time not too long ago, when in 2016, where I voted for Gary Johnson out of utter and total disgust, and that by the way was when I joined the Libertarian bandwagon. They uh where the hell was I going with that, Tim?
I don't
You'll
know.
remi- you'll
I don't
remind
know.
me. You'll remind me.
Well, either I'll remind you or
Oh,
I won't.
I had a little, and at that time I had a little bit of TDS, but it had more to do with the crazy shit he said and not anything he did, right?
Oh, look,
So
he was in 2016. I loved the guy. Okay. He was hilarious. I didn't take him particularly seriously, but what he did to the mainstream media is he exposed the disease that is the collaboration between the mainstream media and the system that exists
yeah,
of governance. Okay.
yep,
He exposed it perfectly, and people freaking out. Like, you know me well enough to know that stuff like that makes me laugh, right? Like
right, absolutely.
that I see a certain amount of hilarity in emotional outbursts that and I apologize for it all the time. Like I can't almost do anything other than laugh. It's a weakness of mine. So I mean, like I sent him $5 to put it on my Facebook page just to pwn my liberal friends, and I was like, now I'm still getting texts from that psychopath. I'm like, wow, what a horrible
Look,
$5.
if I could share my screen, I would show you the complete nuttiness that's going on in my junk mail folder, like the emails I'm getting from Harris Waltz, the Trump campaign, and all their apologists. It's like, it's absolutely insane to me how. Well, one, I think I know how Democrats got my name. I never, I gave to a friend of mine who lived in Delaware and ran for office, and I just wanted to be supportive. And I gave him like $25 or something like that. So
Yeah,
if you're giving through Act Blue, you're going into that database, right?
correct.
Not sure where the Republicans got my name.
Yeah,
And obviously I know where Chase Oliver got my name, and Joe Jorgensen, and all those folks who were sending me messages. But it's
where did they get that? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just yeah. Look, it's a very weird dynamic of what we're living through this moment in time, where we're waking up to a certain reality about the system, and yet too many people are stuck like picking a side. I cannot believe that we do not have a bigger impact, that we are not more widely participated in. I do know that it absolutely has to do with what I would call gatekeeping and the tendency of autistic people to lecture their friends on how philosophically perfect they are. I think that destroys a certain amount of participation in polite society. Does that make sense?
Look, you've been on the state committee. You know how it goes. There's
Oh, Jesus.
certain individuals that are hard to be around. There's certain individuals, yeah, certain ideas. You can say, it's funny how you can say, key being libertarian is not telling other people how to lead their lives. Then you say how you're going to lead your life, and you have 12 libertarians jump on you for living your life that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was running for office, Cody, like I used Facebook as a primary interface with lots of people that were potentially interested in voting for this guy, right? And
Yeah.
I would have libertarians come on and get involved in my conversations to lecture me about my imperfect stance on open borders. To, and I'm like, I'm talking to real people with real concerns
Yeah.
that don't like what they're seeing. So you don't have to like my answer, jerk off. Go away.
Well, that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
People get into these ideological litmus tests with abortion and libertarianism and immigration,
Oof.
and like it's become a wedge issue just within our party, right? These
Right.
things.
I'm sure.
And oh, like I know, like this is like one of the things, and I think there's a lot of open border libertarians, like I was, who are kind of
Sure.
giving pause and sort of retreating a little bit, and saying, we need a new Ellis Island.
Sure.
Or at least that kind of model, right? This whole catch and release thing, while we process your paperwork, and we might find you in 10 years when we finally get around to processing it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Well, arguably, e- I understand the argument for open borders, for the free passage of human beings
Yep.
to the right to travel and the right to associate. Okay, and I know that we didn't have open borders, or we had open borders at some point in our history, but there was a time where our politicians zealously defended our property rights. Okay, and that is a change, okay? And there was no incentivized immigration. There was no forced immigration. There was no manipulated immigration, right? Those things are real things that I've always been uncomfortable with the answers that I get from fellow libertarians. Like it is not
Well,
going to
well, they're
reach
happening,
normies. Yeah,
but it's all happening right now,
right.
right? And the fact is that people are being let into this country on purpose. To what end? We don't know. Are they here to cause chaos? Are they?
Yes.
That's a very angry looking man that just joined the call.
He is this guy is first of all, let me just introduce you two guys. I don't know if you've ever seen some of my shows with Jared, but this is Cody Anderson. Who are you? You serve a role in the New York State Libertarian Party, and forgive me if I you're the treasurer.
Not anymore. I'm not.
You're not. What
No
happened?
Moss. They had a convention, and I didn't stand up for re-election.
Okay, that's good.
Before that, my real prison was being chair of the state party from
And
2020 to
Cody, so
2022.
look, what you did for me when you were chair, okay, and what we made happen, at least locally, was to get people excited about the fact that we gave a crap about their ideas and their problems. Okay,
Yeah.
we communicated with them, and we went to their fun little events, and they loved us so much so that they gave us money. You know what I mean? So
Well,
much,
right.
and passed petitions on our behalf. Now,
And and
Jared.
and here's
Oh,
the, and
sorry.
here's
Go
the
ahead.
other thing too. Well, here's the other thing too, Tim and Jared. We'll dovetail you in a second. The what when you ran for office, one thing that you had that we do not have now is automatic ballot access.
That and charisma.
And well, no, charisma you've always had, and actually you probably have more now, than you ever did. But I guess my point is that getting on the ballot was a very easy thing for us libertarians. For
Yeah.
designating petitions, you only need to get signatures from 2% of the enrolled libertarians that you were running for in your party, and so it was a kind of easy ask. Whether you want to get a
Yeah.
state committee or whether you want to go, run for Senate 51. It was a lot easier to do. On the local level, it's still very easy to get on the ballot. We're independent candidates now. All I needed, to win Village or Middleburg, all I needed was about 25 signatures. So super simple to do. I did did 3 times that in a couple days. But I
Yeah.
guess my point is that you know, that I think the signature threshold now for being in assembly or Senate, I think it's like 1,500 signatures. It's a lot for an
I
independent candidate.
It could be as much as 3,000. It may be only 1,500. I can't remember either. I think
It
perhaps
depends on the
Senate's
size of the
3.
district. I think it's no more than 3,000,
Okay.
and it depends on, it just depends how big your district is. But it,
All right.
it's it's all very it's all very troubling. And look, you know, we can be impactful and know in our own communities and know people and have them, you know us and trust us enough to be reasonable people. It becomes a little more difficult when you're trying to cover a state Senate district that's, that covers 9 counties, right?
Oh, 11 counties.
Yeah.
Senate District
Now,
51 covered 11 counties. That was
right.
absurd.
I live in what used to be 51. Now
Yeah.
that's all shifted around and stuff like that. But I think Oberacker is still my senator. So I would
Congratulations.
I think he's still yours, right?
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
guy. He does exactly what I expected him to do, which is absolutely nothing. And
Well,
but he doesn't
and he
have a
does
lot
it,
of power, like but he
and he
doesn't
does,
rabble rouse. I would have at
and
least rabble roused you guys. You missed an opportunity.
he also does exactly what the Republican with the Republican apparatus in this area does. They want him to just vote the way they tell him to vote and show up, and and that's what he does.
All right. So look, Cody, this is my friend Jared Anderson. Jared and I have done a few podcasts together. We've had some really good times. We've had some great conversations. Jared is from Tuwele, Utah. All right. And I kind of wanted to get his take on what he thinks is happening in the wild, wild west. What do you say, brother? How you been?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's good to meet you. My
Good
last
meeting you,
name's
Jared.
Anderson as well, so maybe we're
Distantly
related way
related.
back.
I can just say Mr. Anderson and see which one jumps to answer first.
You got to say it like Agent Smith, though.
Yeah, that would be my plan.
Whoa.
Mr.
Whoa.
Anderson.
Yeah. I'm in Utah, so I'm in the exact opposite situation you guys are in. Whereas, I'm in solid red. Not a concern of us losing that, though. We do have a challenger on the gubernatorial race that might get interesting, but I doubt it. I think those predictions are pretty clear. Trump is extremely popular out here. And there's just really one corridor of cities where Harris has any even recognition at all. And then Chase Oliver, everyone says who when you mention his name. So I don't know.
Right.
I want to be able to say who at this point, because I don't want to know who he is. To be perfectly honest, like I tried very hard to understand that a lot of people approach libertarianism from different angles, and that's good, right? That is still we come to this collection of principles that we find appealing. One of the least favorite things I find about all of politics, guys, and I'd love both your comments on this, is playing in culture war identity politics-ism. Like, what's your guys' take on that? Like, it offends me to my core. It prevents us from talking about class structures that are preventing all of us, that keeps like bringing power to a centralized government. It does all of those things. It's a perfect tool. And sometimes I feel like maybe Chase participates. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I come from the English school of libertarianism, which is more of a freedom through responsibility.
Yeah.
And then you've got the European school, which is freedom from responsibility.
I like both those things.
And well, I don't think you can have a successful culture without the responsibility.
100%.
You can't do something and then avoid the ramifications of that. And it's just point blank. And so I come at my culture war ideals, be it I don't know what you call it, the affirmative action, be it abortion, all of that, from the idea of you must carry the responsibility for your actions. You must shoulder them. And that whatever spectrum the government decides that they want to put fences around, I hope they keep that in mind. You've got to have responsibility. Otherwise, you devolve into chaos, and then it looks like any inner city we have in this country right now.
100%.
I'm with you. I do see a very a powerful motivator when I look at cities for people to be understandably angry, but effectively they are encouraged or allowed to blame the wrong thing. They're blaming not the government, whereby it's obviously the government that is creating their situations through false promises of a better life, of free stuff, of freedom from responsibility, if you will. And then they're like, well, that's Mr. Anderson's fault. That's literally the game they're playing, and it hurts my feelings. It hurts them.
Well, let's look at your state right now. Your state gave us a precious example of government overreach, of bureaucracy built under the guise of this is going to service the people and everything else. And then that bureaucracy, in its infinite desire to justify its existence, serves a search warrant on a person's house to remove 2 family pets.
Hang on. Yeah, I mean, there's a piece of literally what I would call horror behind what happened here that some people seem to be missing. As the story has it, somebody from Texas called in a complaint about a pet squirrel that was making some dude some money, that was very well cared for. It just, how do they get away with this, man?
It's crazy. Well, and a governments always look to justify their job. Let's look at, if we look at the latest initiative that the Democrats tried to put through on the border, that, whether or not Trump shut it down, was shut down. And legacy Zach. But
got it, bro. You got it.
But remember the simple thing with that, with the simple thing with that new law, that new legislation they wanted to put through, was they were going to expand government bureaucracies. And that right there for me is automatically a no. There's got to be other, you cannot have, we do need to control our border. I don't, fit that into the parameters of the needs of the country. Also, we've got to look at kind of the needs of other countries. Do we want a country that's 1 or 2 countries south of us failing because all of its intellectual and responsible people left? Not really, but when they're going to expand a bureaucracy, that bureaucracy is never going to go away. When was the last time one of them got smaller?
Right.
Never.
Never.
I like to frame it, Jared, if you don't mind. I like to frame it under this guise of they create perverse incentives. If we take a look at what we're calling the homeless conundrum, they develop bureaucracies to serve homeless people that never quite achieve any kind of real goal of eliminating homelessness. They only serve homeless people.
100%.
And so the only incentive is, hey, how can we get our program to grow? We could use more people, we could use more money. There's no way to like they complain about it and then they point again their angry finger at a Mr. Anderson somewhere that's irrelevant to what the situation is when they're providing way too much in the way of sustenance and nothing or almost nothing in the way of solutions.
Well,
Almost
it's
nothing.
worse than that. They
Yeah.
corrupt the capitalist market. So they take developers who should be building housing. Those developers should be putting their efforts towards alleviating the housing crisis, saying, let's take LA for account. And you can listen to right wing, left wing. I mean, Anna Kasparian probably has the best take on this. But those developers are pulled out of the free market to service this socialist system where they build, boondoggles. They build high rises for homeless people. I just take a minute, everyone. Picture yourself as a police officer, and they say on the 25th floor, there is a person that is acting up. And I don't know if you've ever seen Judge Dredd, but that's what it would be. It would be a gauntlet.
Yep.
There'd be blood and hair stuck to every wall and every carpet.
It's absolutely amazing. The other Mr. Anderson, your thoughts on this increasing cycle of government creating, enhancing, servicing, and yet never correcting a problem.
So look, let's talk about a product that a lot of people want, and you'd think it would be easy to legalize it is weed. And
Sure.
here in New York, naturally, along with the legalization of weed and the taxes that comes along with that, they created a bureaucracy called the Office of Cannabis Management here in New York.
You could
right?
just see
Office-
what this is.
The
Yeah.
Office of
Can-
Cannabis Management. So is that
Sure.
OOCB or just OCB?
OCM, Office of Cannabis Management.
Oh yeah, OCM.
So
Right.
so OCM at every
ODB.
turn, ODB, yeah, you know me. So at every turn, the OCM has screwed up what should have been a slam dunk with rolling out legalized weed to this state. They have been sued. They basically started. The reason legalized weed took such a long time to even pass in this state was because they were worried about equity for the community, and in particular, like blacks who had been thrown in jail, and they wanted to give them the first shot, but they also wanted to get records expunged and things like that, right?
Sure.
So and expunged, absolutely. I think that everybody should have had all their records expunged. Whether or not you could really achieve equity, I think we probably all agree that that's a pie in the sky kind of dream. When in fact they're giving it to giving it to these black businessmen and disadvantaged veterans and others, and they literally got sued because under I think it was under equal protection clause of the Constitution. They got sued because they're trying to give more give more consideration to certain groups than others, right? So all this kind of tears on. So another thing is personal grow. You cannot, one of the carve outs, and this is how you can always, this kind of like Florida's proposed legislation that they're voting on now. Or I'm sorry, it's a constitutional amendment is really what it is. There's going to be a ballot question tomorrow for that. So they've you can tell that this is all sponsored by corporate cannabis, right? It had nothing to do with equity, at least in the beginning it didn't. And they have managed to manage, so the big carve out in the bill for you can't personal grow at home for 18 months until after the first recreational dispensary opens.
Oh,
S-
yeah.
So what I tell you that they hardly had 20 dispensaries statewide open, like
Legal one.
legal dispensaries open. 18 months was up and people were already personal growing, right?
Sure.
And we have a tribe of Indians. Actually we have several of them. We have St. Regis Mohawks up north. We've got the Seneca Mohawks, which are out in western New York and Erie County. The Cayugas, that are right around the Finger Lakes. They have all been selling legal weed, or I should say, they're sovereign nations. They can sell whatever they want or don't want on their tribal lands. Governor Cuomo came along, stole $800 million from the Seneca Mohawks, and all bets and all compacts were off. You can buy a solid ounce of weed on res now for $100. Why would you pay? Why would you walk into a legal dispensary and pay the prices that they're asking, which is 2, sometimes 3 times as much as that? So anyway, the OCM and the reason I just go through this whole long story is because the state at every turn has managed to screw up the rollout to sell a state sanctioned product for something that by all accounts should have a pretty high demand. And all the performance has been subpar. It's taken forever to roll out, and it's been absolutely miserable. So you could screw up. You could screw up selling ice to Eskimos.
Oh, the government only does one thing, and that's turn. Can I do a gentle curse word right now?
Oh, you can use as strong a curse
This
word as
is
you
not
like.
going on the radio. This may end
Sweet.
up out on the podcast, so you can swear however you
This is gonna be
want.
good.
Unbutton your shirt, Jared.
Let it fly. Let it fly, brother.
The government, this is not just our government, every government in the history of all time has only turned gold into shit.
It's hard
100%.
to argue that,
It's
100%.
true.
Yeah.
It's true. You know what? I love to ask this on my show. Name me a government success.
Then somebody might say World War I or World War II or
Was it
No,
Oh,
absolutely not.
a
If you
success
ask me,
that led to
no.
a century of proxy wars? And a success, mind you, that the work of a group of governments on both sides of the conflict worked to ensure happened.
That's right.
Yeah.
And sure, it was a success because the government came out of that 3 times bigger with 8 times the power.
Yep.
And now we adhere to a notion of GDP that is absolutely involved in growing the military industrial complex. Okay. It's absolutely to make successful numbers in GDP right now. We are dependent on spending money on proxy wars. That's an absolute reality. That's an economic fucking fact of life.
Yep.
And there is no way that we can wake up enough people ever to understand that because they reach into our emotional psyches, they divide us over it, and they say it's for democracy, or it's for freedom, or it's in response to terror, or it's Islamic jihadists that are going to come here if we don't stop them over there. And it's amazingly effective. And I came from I don't even want to admit it, but George Bush persuaded me that invading Iraq was a good idea. And I was like, damn, let's go get those guys. And I was like 28 and I wasn't going to be one of the guys going, or 30. I wasn't going to be one of the guys going, but I'm like, this is justice. And let's bring those guys a better form of democracy. And what happened is we destroyed a country and now it's in the grasp of a religious theocracy. It's like,
Not
this,
just that.
God damn, does not work.
We finished what the Mongols started by destroying the birthplace of humanity as we know it.
Humans are.
How much archaeological history was lost when we dropped J dams and 500 pounders and all that?
How would we'll never measure it, though.
But
It's uncivilized. We'll never get there again, right?
we'll never know. We'll never know, you know. So hey, I mean, it seems at every turn, every time the government or governments or our elite do something, it happens to just work out so that every aspect of interest of the common man gets hit. Your wallet, your imagination. I mean, look at our school system. You know, talk about utter failure. And out here, the big gripe here in Tooele County right now is they just upped all of our property taxes to give the school district an extra 15%. So everyone's property taxes went up 15% or so. And you're just like, whoa. And I promise you, when they do that next test, they're going to do worse than they did last year.
It's a design play.
Look,
Government
Jared.
schools have been incredible. I'm sorry, Cody, go ahead.
Oh no, I look, Jared. New York has the highest cost per student in the country, over nearly $35,000 per student, and we have middling outcomes. School age children enrollment in public schools is dropping. The pandemic precipitated it, and hastened it. It was already dropping, in Greene County, which is the couple counties south of where I am right now, in the county where I used to live in, Columbia County. They had forecast that school age enrollment is going to drop something like 25% by 2035. And yet, the taxes keep going up.
Yeah. What's filling the gap for your public school drop? Is it homeschool or private school?
Probably homeschool. I got to be honest.
It's population loss too. Like,
well, yeah, that's right. People leave in New York.
Like we cannot deny a certain level of reality that I live in what used to be a vibrant community in so much as every kid wanted to come out to this lake area and go trick-or-treating. And this was just 25 years ago when my youngest was here and we were taking, people would come from all over the county to go through this area. This past weekend and Halloween night, we had 5 trick-or-treaters. 5.
Whoa.
5. And we're talking there would be kids everywhere because it's a nice, safe 15-mile-an-hour zone. People have family here. It's like a nice little residential community. We're tightly packed with people who can afford to buy candy and give it away like crazy. And they just it used to be an epic event, and I watch it decline. I have a 32-year-old kid, and then I have a 20-year-old kid, and then an 18-year-old kid. I watched it decline. I watched our schools combine all of their sports programs. It is in fact population loss. That's it.
Well, Utah's got a lot of kids that are entering into the homeschool market. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, there's something out here called Mormons, and that's a big driver.
They were at my house the other day. They're here.
You had the mercenaries there, huh?
Oh my God.
We send our young men everywhere.
They were
And
great.
sometimes young ladies too.
They were great. I'm not even kidding. Like,
You know what? You're like, some of them come back and get a little jaded, but on average, when they're on their mission, they are as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and clean-cut as you can get. But
I swear to God, they were going to help me side my house. I swear to
You
God,
know
they were
what?
just like, so what do you want to come hang out with us tomorrow? Because we'll stay around here and help you today. And I'm like, I'm not playing that game, fellas. But you
They
guys got a
will.
good. You guys got a good rap. Like
Now
I
I have
like
to
you.
warn you, as a former Mormon myself, I grew up raised in it. I never went on a mission. I joined the army instead. But
That's a mission, bro.
sure, it's a lot cheaper for my dad for me to go to the army.
Yeah.
But they will come inside your house. Now you guys have to be warned. The LDS church, their services on Sunday are 3 hours long. So you guys better be ready.
Oof.
Okay. They don't play around. They shoot for ruining a perfectly good Sunday all the way. But
I thought the Catholics had it down.
no, the Catholics are quick in and out. They blow your knees out, but they're in and out. But the Mormons, they don't blow your knees out. You're not up, kneel, stand, kneel, sit, kneel. No, you can go and sit your butt down the whole time, but it's 3 hours. You be ready. But and Mormonism comes from there in New York. That's where it was born. And then it got chased all over, and then it came out here, and apparently the Utes, the Navajo, and the Goshutes were like, nah, we'll let them stay.
Let 'em- They're so look. I'll be honest with you. I am not adverse to discussing religion with people. I am not adverse to people who want to offer me their version and their vision of what God may mean to me or them. In a way, I kind of like it. I just really wasn't in the mood the other day. You know what I mean? I'm just like, all right, fellas,
Oh.
see you later. But I had to tell them to leave 3 times. I'm like, because they kept doing those sales tricks of
You got to
"Hey,
do
so-"
the anti-Beetlejuice.
Yeah, they're like, hey, so why is your compressor sitting out here? You got some work going on, you know? And it's just like, yup. And they're like,
They'll come and do it. I kid you not.
oh, so that's awesome. Yes, we got.
And
Go ahead.
I've had the missionary sicked on me because I am extremely agnostic. I am pretty much atheist, but I love religion. I love studying because I think it's a good well, one, we know it's been studied and proven that communities that have a religion are happier communities.
Right.
That's a fact. Also, I like studying old religions because I think that gives you a good snapshot to what concerned the average person at the time. And if you want to know about anthropology, go to their religion first.
I would phrase it to shortcut my understanding of it. It looks to me like a collection of stories that tries to teach people some profundities of life that enhance your community, regardless of whether there's a real sky being behind it, the love that's expressed there, and the relationships that are expressed there, and the importance of your family and sacrifice and how those things are rewarding. It's a great morality play for me. And I think that as we see people supplant religion with government worship, I can see where the morality of religion has a very distinct appeal and maybe should have more appeal. The allegories and the euphemisms and the metaphors. I love them, you know. So again, I also not particularly religious, and some members of my family might freak right out at me, but it is what it is. And I love that. You know, I love them for that. Their beliefs are passionate and it's wonderful, you know. Just I
So-
It
don't know.
is.
And it's
Cool.
interesting how you know. So Tim, you know, I had a house in West Virginia, which
Correct.
which I no longer have.
Oh, that's too bad.
What? Not really.
It was on my bug out list. I was gonna
so-
be like,
well,
well, if I
sites-
gotta,
sites-
I'm heading to Cody's in West Virginia. That's what.
Sites said on other places. It is a great bug out. We actually sold to a couple people who are going to do real homesteading. They actually lived in Westerlo,
All right.
in Albany County, and they're like GTFO. So, everything in my part, really anywhere in West Virginia that's not in a city is largely revolves around the church and the church as a community, the church as a as a unit of faith, right? And it's sort of interesting that you bring up the association between people clinging to religion versus the state, right?
Mhm.
Everybody needs their God. They need somebody to tell them. Many people, I'm not sure I
Right.
do. Many people feel like they need somebody to tell them what to do and where to be, what their moral compass should be. And the church of the state is not so different from the church of God. And if I look in West Virginia, the folks down there, so it's really interesting in West Virginia. And Jared, I've talked to Tim about this a million times. So I'm just going to say it again for the audience and for your sake. There's it's a the house that I had was in an unincorporated part of the county. So we didn't have a municipal government. There was a very small county government that ran the sheriff's department and the courts, did some floodplain management and things like that. The state owns all the roads. There's one school district for the entire county, which I think is the way they're doing it. They do it in your county, if I'm not mistaken. Here in New York, it's a parochial concern. You literally have like 7 or 8 school districts in each county, which is crazy, but that's the way it goes. And there's no zoning. There really isn't much of anything in the way of government. So in the absence of government, people sort of have this church community to cling to. When you look at American cities, right? And I'm generalizing here,
Sure.
but there is a worship of the state over God. And it's one of the things they've said about the Democrats is that they are, they're godless, godless heathen, and there's not enough God in their lives and things like. And I don't know about that, only because some people just don't, maybe they just don't buy into it, or maybe they have selected the church of the state over the church of God. I don't know. But it's very interesting you mentioned that, because there is, to me, a very clear substitution of one for the other.
I want to challenge the notion that we don't know. Okay, that people repeat. I want to say catechisms. I'm not sure if that's the right word. They repeat mantras. They repeat prayers. They repeat, like, demonizing their enemies. Like it. If it isn't a religion, then I don't know what to call it. Like it.
Well, look,
Then
it's
religion.
true.
The word religion has no meaning.
Indoctrination. It's all
Yeah.
indoctrination, one way or
Sure.
another, right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Don't worry, the government will save us. Don't worry, God will save us. God will provide. Right.
That's
It's a very parallel paradigm to me. And Jared, I've been kind of the same boat you are. I was raised Presbyterian, but for all intents and purposes, I'm an agnostic. Really atheist right now, who really does believe in the in the power of self and the power of the individual. And I'm not waiting around for God or for the government to make my life better.
You're today's Tom Sawyer. You're a mean guy.
That's right.
Well, you know what? Progressivism, from its dawn, has been a religious movement. I mean, it was born out of Calvinism and all that. And remember, progressivism was born in the Republican Party in the late 1800s. The Republican Party at the time was the party of science and atheism, and then again, business owners. And also it was the party of the inner cities. Republicans owned the inner cities until, about the 1930s. Owned them.
Yep.
And so
it's interesting.
Progressivism is a religious movement, and they have their priests. Their priests, you see them every night on the media, on your late night talk shows. You hear them on NPR. Those are their priests, and they come and they tell you, they interpret the book from on high for you. And
I agree with that assessment. I find it to be very accurate. I want to put this out there. I also reject atheism. Like, I'm so filled with wonder and so amazed at the miracle of humanity and human life, and the fact that my dog loves me, right? Like, that my children love me, that I was able to, I'm just amazed by all of it. And yeah, I could dig deep and find biological explanations for most of this, and I can experiment with trying to understand, evolutionary biology, listening to a couple of Brett Weinstein's podcasts or something like that. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be this mystery that is not purely answered. You want to like by any form of religion that I see walking the face of this planet, and so and on some level, I understand the word atheism, but I reject that as well. does that
No,
does that make sense? I'm just like, nah,
it
that don't
does.
work
Totally-
either.
totally
That
makes
none of
sense.
that works.
You're like my dad. You're not going to join any group that'll have you.
That's probably accurate. Every time
You
I
know?
have, I've always left with a sour taste in my mouth.
Well,
Like,
here's the
groups are
deal.
Stupid.
Let's say the scientists dig down and prove evolution. That doesn't disprove in
Right.
a god or a being that created us. And then if you listen to all the stuff coming out, these new computer scientists, they're saying there's more probability that we live in a simulation than there's not. How they do the math to figure that out. Remember, guys, I am a wrench turning moron.
Right. I'm a solar panel carrying old dude that likes to work. That's what I am,
Yeah, I'm a handyman and an industrial mechanic.
Nice.
That's my two jobs.
Cody's the guy that'll solve the computer stuff for us.
Yeah. And I'm
a problem solver.
Yeah, see, you understand the math. When someone throws a cursive symbol in a math problem, you probably know what they're talking about. I do not. I have no clue. I recognize righty tighty, lefty loosey, and that's where it goes.
And that if it doesn't work that way, you're dealing with something that's going to explode. So
yeah, you're dealing with
keep that in mind.
Yeah, or an old military vehicle. You're standing on the right side of the vehicle. They did it so that for whatever.
Right. Well, okay, that's fair. So look, we got a couple comments out there. The first one I want to really, besides Shelly, who's like the best friend in the world, she's hanging out with her grandkids, so she's asking about Prop 1. I do think we should talk about that. But Cody Anderson, you remember Carrie Bittner? This lady brought such a great energy to the Libertarian Party, and in particular to Larry Sharp's campaign, that when she kind of decided to take a step back from politics, that in my mind, that's kind of where this inflection point, which is in the news all the time, but this inflection point kind of happened where things just started to not feel as exciting. So she was wonderful. I hope she gets back into it, if you will, like
She has been. Carrie's great, and she's been more visible for a lot of personal reasons right now, and I'm glad to see her back around.
She has such a positive energy, bro. Like
Absolutely.
it's just I every time I see her make a comment, I want to give her a shout out because like without her, none of this would have made sense. I never would have got involved as I did. You know what I mean? Like she was, whether she realizes that or not, her effort, I could not match it, right? But I tried,
we need more Carrie Bittners in the LPNY.
Oh my God.
In the LP writ large, right?
Yeah. Writ large for sure. I do think that there's, so look, this comment, I always like this philosophy when we get a chance to talk about it. And I want to catch your guys' take on it. Government is people. People are little shits. If I'm probably going to read into it what I want to talk about. So government is, people want to argue that the government is an extension of our society, that they somehow like are just people just like us in there doing a job that they perceive to be good. I want to say, I want to take that in a different direction. And I think that government has been incredibly successful at attracting some of the worst people that we can possibly imagine, that
100%.
That they are absolute narcissists, that they are absolutely will bend the truth, warp perspective, and warp reality to bring more power to their little fiefdom. What do you guys think? Like, is it just an extension of us and it's the cool guy down the road, or is it just the most narcissistic kid in 20 years or 50 years from Senate District 51 or wherever ends up just keeping going, just not stopping till he gets that cushy ass job, that power? What do you think?
I think it is mostly about power. I think there's some people who start out, but the folks who serve on a local level, I think for the most part do have a very um genuine interest in their community and where they live, right? Because at the end of the day, this is where you really make where you can make the most impact and the most visibility, gather the most consensus, right? It's impossible to do those things on a national basis, right? You can't take something and apply it nationwide and think that everyone's going to be good with it. It's a lot easier to me to have something make sense in Milford, New York, or Middleburg, New York, right?
Sure.
There's the 10th Amendment right there.
Yep.
That's exactly, that's what I've been preaching for years now. If we don't rely on the 10th Amendment, we're going to have a two-way range in this country.
Yep. But you got to keep, to me, it's about keeping it local. Now there are folks who, for a variety of reasons, start out being being somebody who wants to help your community, and then somewhere along the way they get corrupted, right? Like power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And yeah, I think you have guys like Tom Massey and Rand Paul, and I could think of let me think of a couple.
Based Mike Lee from the great state of Utah is
Yeah, we got
not,
Mike Lee, my senator.
Mike Lee is great, and
he's not as great as Thomas Massey, but he's
nobody is as great as Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey stands all by himself. And if you're going to write someone in for president, everyone should write him in.
That would be neat. Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Sorry, Cody, you got cut off there. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I guess, and I could probably think of a couple Democrats who are very well-meaning too. Dennis Kucinich, believe it or not, comes to mind as somebody who is.
He's running. He's running again in Ohio or Illinois somewhere. He wants to get back into the House of Representatives. I'm tempted.
I don't
to
know
send
why
him money.
I think he's suicidal. I don't know why anyone would want to try and get into the House of Representatives except to grift, right? And but this
retirement
is
plan, sure.
But well, sure, right. So, but this is my point, right? Is that there's the folks who have become corrupted have been corrupted by the power. We have somebody like that here in Middleburg who will eventually run for assembly. You're in Chris Tague's district, right? Right, Tim? Who is your assembly person? Is it Chris Tague?
No, my assembly person is Mark Molinaro.
No. That's federal. That's your congressperson. I'm talking about
whatever.
None of it matter. But he eventually this kid wants to run for Chris Tague's seat, and this kid is a card carrying Democrat. Try doing that in the district that Chris Tague represents, which is Schoharie and Greene County, and parts of Delaware and things like that are clearly not tilted toward him. But at the end of the day, though, it's about you go back in these people's lives and look at how they were raised, and mommy didn't love them enough, or daddy didn't love them enough, and they find some way to some means of getting power, and it works for them, right? Because people suddenly, the pro-government people who think that government can really help are asking you for favors, asking you for help, and it's I think that's a powerful thing, and I also think it's why I've gotten, and I'll say, cold feet, for lack of a better term, both times that I've started to run for office. And maybe it's not cold feet, but I just realized my life is really good. Why the fuck am I? Why would I do this to myself? Like,
Mhm.
why would I do that? And you know, at the same time, I look here in the village, and there may be, Brian Miller. That's who you got.
Yeah, dime store Timu John Salka. That's what we call this guy.
That's right.
Jo-
Wish John Salka.
John Salka was a really good dude. He
He was
he
great.
he was a little bit old. But they had to restructure the districts, and they restructured him right out. And so we ended up
Mm.
with
His
Timu Brian
district,
Miller.
his district, usually Salka's new district would have covered like 12 counties. It was absolutely insane. It was like this big diagonal. How's it going? It's this big diagonal line. It was unbelievable, and he is truly one of the good guys. You know, very conservative Republican, but was truly one of the only ones to be vocally anti-lockdown, vocally anti vaccine mandate here in New York, and you know, everyone else is really toeing the line and not saying much of anything. He was vocally on that side of things.
He Salka, like, just to sing his praises, all right, but also to remind the world that he was a Republican that at the end of the day can chicken out, because when they first had the vote to lock down the state, he was like, he posted on Facebook, "I could not believe what happened today. What I saw my friends and my compatriots cave to a ridiculous deal, and it was beautiful." And so, of course, he took it down. So just so you know, like, yes, I love the guy. Yes, he showed up at Larry Sharp's events. Yes, he would probably still interact with me because we had great conversations. He was a good guy. It's
Yep.
just he will toe the party line. That's the way it goes.
Well, and don't think you know, the party isn't the ones who threw him under the bus during redistricting. You know,
I know they did, bro. I know
Yeah.
they did. And
Yeah.
so he should have stuck up for my campaign a little bit better. He offered me advice and stuff like that. What happened?
Yeah, he bailed out on us.
Bye.
Well,
Oh,
hey, you know,
he'll be back. He's coming back. All right,
I'm,
so
I'm pretty.
there he is. What happened?
Let's meet the
Jason?
new guy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Jason, where are you from?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Arizona, right?
Yeah, I'm just outside Phoenix in a suburb of about 100,000 people. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, Maricopa County should be
Yeah.
fun this
Nice.
election season.
Oh,
Perfect.
snap.
I am so
Hold it-
glad you
hold-
popped in,
Keeping
brother.
the rest
This
of us
is awesome.
waiting.
I live in the largest county in Utah, and I think we have 70,000 people in the whole county.
Oh, is
Oh,
that
shit.
right? That's pretty small.
Yeah,
So even
I
like
come
the-
from a town that when I grew up was under 3,000 people.
Yeah.
Now it's over 7,000. I live now in the next door town in the county seat, and I think we're at like 32,000 people.
So that's
You-
crazy. So how many, like the county that Provo's in? That's got, or Salt Lake City. They've got to be pretty big counties. Right?
Yeah, well, they're small counties. They're tiny. Utah County is small, and Salt Lake County are both small. I'm in Tooele County out. If you look at the map of Utah, just look west of Salt Lake County, and we run from the Oquirrh Mountains, which split us from Salt Lake City, all the way to the border of Nevada.
Okay.
All right. So Jason, tell us what's the boots on the ground in Maricopa County. That is the quintessential hotspot for this entire election. You guys are
Yeah.
What's going to happen, man?
I can't tell you what'll happen. I don't think anything good. There's already reports of things, malfeasance with the election machines. Last time we had a governor race, Katie Hobbs versus Carrie Lake. You guys might remember.
Yep.
Carrie
yeah.
Lake brought a decent argument. I have no idea what's real, but a decent argument that she was cheated out of a lot of votes. So Maricopa County's 4.5 million people out of the state. It's huge. It's basically the whole population of the state. Maybe 2 million outside of it, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. I haven't been out really. I don't go out of the house much, to be honest. I try not to
I don't
interact
blame
with too many people. But
Yeah, get the ammo and food delivered to home, getting ready for it.
you.
yeah, I moved out of the city recently a few months ago, so it feels good to be kind of in a more rural-ish place.
Yeah.
I'm rural upstate New York. Do you know anything about baseball? You ever hear of Cooperstown?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
All right, so I'm 8 miles south of Cooperstown.
Okay.
As you caught, Jared's Tooele, Utah, and Cody Anderson is a fellow New Yorker from a similar sized county, slightly to the, I would say, northeast of me. So
Correct. I'm about 30 miles northeast of Tim. That's right.
yeah,
Okay.
Cody is a former chairman of the New York State Libertarian Party. I used to be a state representative. I was the official chairperson of the Otsego County Libertarian Party for a short stint. So, have you just out of curiosity, do anything with the Libertarian Party politics out there?
Yeah, I joined the National Party in 2021 after the lockdowns, after just horrible messaging by the candidate then, Joe Jorgensen. I was like one of those people that came in, was like, okay, we're taking over, was part of that Reno reset in 22.
Mises
with
Caucus takeover.
Yeah. Got pretty disillusioned with the Mises Caucus in the next couple of years. Don't support it. I did go as a delegate in this year to try to vote for Rechtenwald, although I wasn't super excited about him. But yeah, I really have only been in the party a few years, although I'd say I've been a libertarian my whole life, really, as long as I knew what that was.
Look, that makes sense to me. I grew up being relatively uninterested in politics. I kept receiving messages that caused cognitive dissonance in my brain, where we have these politicians that are their whole shtick is lying to me, right? And their whole shtick is selling me a war that I just don't agree with, right? Like Bill Clinton bombing Kosovo, right? Because he's being investigated for stuff with Monica Lewinsky. I'm just like, this isn't about freedom, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, and then George W. Bush, like, and 9/11 sparked this cohesion throughout the world, like throughout this country. And then it's like, well, let's go blow up Iraq. And I'm like, wait a second. Just like, I kind of was like,
these guys are from Saudi Arabia. What?
And I was kind of like, yeah, no, yeah. Weapons of mass no, none of this sounds like. So anyways, here I am. That's how I got to being like, if I'm going to be that active in politics, I had to do something that made sense to my brain. And the only thing that makes sense is hanging out with guys like you and the two Mr. Andersons that we have. They are not related, by the way, but it's the only thing that ended up making sense to me. It's just like, okay, we're prickly pears. We have views that are important. So after the whole Rechtenwald debacle and Chase getting nominated, like on a scale of you're very excited to you're not so excited, how do you feel about Chase Oliver?
Not excited. I've met him. I've talked to him a little bit. He's nice enough. He's a good guy. I think he's just still not really there. You know, he doesn't quite get it. There's some things that are just like the COVID stuff. Again, you can see him in pictures wearing a mask and supporting it, even though he says, I'm not supporting mandates. He still was falling for that stuff. And that as a leader just doesn't do it for me. So I was not excited about him.
I think that's fair. We did talk about him a little bit. Cody, I don't know if I actually got you nailed down on where you're at with Mr. Oliver. We kind of got Jared's view.
You know, so I was also at the national convention. I actually voted for Chase after the first round. And for, you know, for those who aren't aware, Chase is also not on the ballot here in New York.
Correct.
So you know, it comes down it is voting for Chase the best way to advance liberty here in New York. I'm not sure it is. I'll know tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at.
Well, what's gonna tell you what? What's your indicator?
His girlfriend.
Well,
She's
so
passionate, man. She's
here,
got
here's what I'll tell you is that my significant other is also a libertarian. So that she's not a Harris supporter. I know exactly who I'm not voting for.
right.
And what I'll say is that I was very big on the RFK train.
Mm.
And I because we didn't have a candidate, we didn't know who was going to be. RFK was who I was given money to up front. And at the end of the day, he had a quality of reasonableness that I felt was not present. I After Chase was nominated, I immediately gave him as much money as I gave RFK. And
Cody's rich, guys, just so you know. He's like
everyone says that. I don't know.
by comparison.
That's so I'm I and of course then RFK sort of made the deal he made with Trump in the name of coalition building.
The Unity Coalition, they're calling it right now. I'm excited for that kind of language.
Well, I am too, but everyone gives unity a lot of lip service. I don't think Trump ever did. until
Hakeem Jeffries talks about unity, and then every single tweet that psychopath makes is like, not at all unity. Hakeem Jeffries is a New York State rep who
he's the worst.
He's the worst. Among the worst.
The worst.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, on Twitter.
So he here I am sort of looking at things and am I going to cast a vote for the Unity Coalition?
When you said who you're not voting for, that's Harris.
That would be Harris.
Okay.
That would be Harris.
Just clear.
Man, I've been holding my dang breath.
Okay, we're all friends here.
Holy cow! Yeah, let's not make the road to serfdom so gentle for him. Let's at least.
So am I voting for a Unity Coalition, or am I voting, or am I going to cast a write-in for Chase? And it's a little hard for me to reconcile, considering who the name I'm going to be voting for. But at the end of the day, I feel like it might be for the Unity Coalition. We'll have to see.
That is the tough one, isn't it? Because
is. And by the way, I feel strong. There are some things where Chase sort of every candidate stepped in it, right? And every candidate has stepped in it
and tracked it around the floor.
And tracked around the floor.
They're not cleaning up after themselves.
Gary Johnson had his Aleppo moment.
Oh.
And Chase has had one or two. I think his most recent one was involving government funding of transition surgeries, right? So for me, look, and I think, by the way, I also think that Chase is a solid libertarian. I think there's some things that some of us can agree. So there's some of us that some not agree, but there's some things that we think that maybe a little bit of government help might be helpful. I can't think of one right now, but clearly.
Cody, if I could put a word on that, right? Like that, I do have some liberal tendencies, okay? And that if we are going to throw people in cages, that we have an obligation to treat them like, to the best that we can, treat them like human beings. And that 100%. Includes providing them with health care, perhaps access to improvement programs. Those things are things I can get behind. I can even get behind the notion that if someone is in jail who is gender confused, counseling as a strategy for when you participate in society and you're done serving your time, that you can achieve your, I'm going to make some sort of stupid joke, but you can achieve your goals here, right?
with
Like
with private funding.
with your own, through your own effort and
Right.
agreement. Yes, private
Yes.
funding is a fine way to frame it. That's fine. I could agree with that, but like, nah, sorry. Like I kind of lost. I kind of
Yeah,
lost it at him a little bit
and,
today. Like,
and look, I feel strongly, you know, in a good way about Chase. I feel better about the chances of the Unity Coalition to make a real difference.
I mean, they name dropped Ron Paul all weekend, so that was kind of cool. I mean, I'm
telling
not
you.
gonna lie.
Yeah, you
Got me
know,
sweating a little bit.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we'll see, right? And he's 90, was 91, 92 years old now. He's you know, we know Elon isn't going to be heading anything in the government. You know, he may be on some kind of blue ribbon commission. But
Right.
he's not gonna give up his cushy Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter
Credit
gigs.
farming gig. Like,
Yeah,
look, guys,
yeah.
I love what he's done with X, but he's a credit farmer. So a top level, high level professional credit farmer, the best credit farmer this world has ever seen. Like,
Also true.
that's so
Also true. But also he actually has delivered results, right?
Yeah.
That's
fair
sort
enough.
that's sort of the difference. And I think that he sees things in a very non-linear way. And it's sort of what annoys me about, annoys other people about me, is that I am, I mean, you've heard these conversations tonight. I am fairly non-linear.
Right.
And I get to an answer by looking at, all the other answers. And it this whole calculus going into who I'm voting for is still being performed.
All right, that's
And
interesting.
yeah,
That's got to be tough.
you look, I'm down to 0 hour now, right, man? And,
Yeah.
and I'm a walk in the voting booth kind of guy. This early voting bullshit is not for me. But
Yeah.
I am going to walk in there. I'm going to vote for somebody tomorrow. It is not clear to me right now who that's going to be, but I have a pretty good idea.
I can tell you who's not sleeping good tonight out of the four of us.
Well, not
You're
me.
going to be up all night because that is a lot of soul. I voted. We do the whole mail thing here. They mail everyone a ballot.
Okay.
And I voted Trump. Chase was on the ballot out here, but I looked at it and if they throw, coming off of how the Democrats treated Kennedy and what's her name? Tulsi, how they treated her, how they treated them. They kind of not only blackballed them, but tried to physically damage their reputation.
Character assassination is
100%,
on the
100%.
table.
And I'll give a message to Trump right now. If you don't put those two in the cabinet as a poke in the eye, I won't trust him ever again on anything.
Well, look here, and this is my thing, right? Is that I'm seeing people who are surrounding him who are not part of the establishment, or even better yet, have been cast out by the establishment, right? And I see RFK Jr., I see Tulsi, I see Vivek. Vivek, who came out of the gate spitting fire, right? And tell it like it was. And Tulsi has become she has made her mission exposing the Democrats in particular, but the larger military industrial complex, right? RFK has committed himself to the pharma industrial complex. He's done a lot of good work here in New York, in particular in the Hudson River, making real difference. And it's not, some people call it eco-fascism. He's essentially sued GE and these other companies under existing laws rather than demanding more, and fucking won. So from my standpoint, he's somebody you want. who knows what's up. He's literally had 2 of his relatives killed by the government, his
Yep.
own father and his uncle. And if anyone knows something about the government's fuckery, it's him. What do I want to see him as? I don't know. Do I want to see him as an attorney general? Do I want to see him as an HHS secretary? I think he'd be way more effective as an attorney general.
Give him 2 months in the CIA director job first, please.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know. We'll see.
Just 2 months.
Yeah.
Just let him go and look at all the paperwork.
But I look at the cast that Trump has gathered behind him, and he's come right out and said, you know what, I didn't expect to win, and I made some appointments because I needed to put people in some positions, and by the way, I kind of thought he did know what he was doing, because there were a lot of those crazy State Department positions and Department of Energy positions that are super spooky and have more to do with the military industrial complex than anything else. You remained unfilled is one of the things I give him a ton of credit for. Will he pardon Ross Ulbricht? We'll see. It's not a big policy thing to me, although it's a big principle thing for me. And if he really wants to say victimless crimes are bullshit, that is the way to do it. And for somebody to say that voluntary transactions matter more than legislating morality, I think that would be a strong statement more than anything. I don't think policy wise it wouldn't matter a whole lot. But we had 4 years of relative peace under Trump, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Look, I'd like to point out
he's a clown. He's a clown.
He's a clown. God, he's entertaining. I want to say some of the stuff that happened to Trump was like, he's like, hey, I think I want to have less presence in Syria, and it's like, oh my God, you can't do that. You're like, we have to accept the fact that the government runs on the military industrial complex, that they are like thick as thieves. They're in bed with each other. It's like incestuous, whatever negative word I can come up with, insert it right now.
Yeah, the military and our pharmaceuticals.
Oh my God.
Our food, our pharmaceutical food. Those two, they run the government, they run the media. When was the last time you saw a commercial that didn't try to make your hair grow longer, better, or you're skinnier or something? That's all you get anymore.
Well, it's a circular kind of firing squad, or it's a circular, like, they get tax deductions for advertising. Then they take that money, they spend it in mainstream media, and like, who is going to go watch a commercial and decide whether they're going to take Wegovy or Ozempic, right? Your doctor is going to say, hey, chubby, you're taking some Ozempic for a couple weeks. Let's see how this goes for you. It's not going to be some stupid commercial that you watch, okay? This is the level of pharmaceutical advertising is absurd, and it's a circular propelled machine that at the end of the day all fills campaign coffers. Like, sorry, but that's what's really going on. And
100%.
I feel like I sound like a nut sometimes when I say that to normies. They're just like, oh God, what? Tim, you've always been like this. Tim, you've always been like this. You see things that aren't there, and I'm like, it's right in front of your face.
No,
Let me tell you a story. So just last night, I met an old timer from down in Grantsville. A fairly well-to-do guy. He's ran a HVAC company for all of his adult life, and built a large business out here. And I'm chatting with him, and he not going to drop any names, but he was going to for his doctor, he was going to one of the local college hospitals. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're one of those hospitals that he found out in court is what they call a science study hospital or whatever. So he's got high PSAs. That's the declaration that you got prostate cancer coming on. And instead of them telling him so that he can pursue an oncologist, they keep prescribing him test drugs for a couple years.
What?
Yeah. And so when he finally finds out, he's like, it's too late. It's on him. It's everywhere. So he goes through all the rigmarole and does the chemo and the surgeries. And the doctors do get sued, and the hospital does offer him, $6 million to go away, but he's got a death sentence now and he's going to carry it out. And that is specifically because those doctors get paid by the pharmaceutical companies to test these drugs. And their incentive isn't that patient across the table from them. Their incentive is the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
And if this person dies because of it, they've still met their incentive. The pharmaceutical companies write the books that they go to school with. The pharmaceutical companies underwrite their licenses. The pharmaceutical companies can make a complaint and boom, you're no longer practicing.
Don't the pharmaceutical companies go so far as to fund the journals of medicine that we get our information from?
100%.
Like where we're like, oh, hey, this great group of people did this awesome study. And it's like, well, the pharmaceutical company sponsors the journal that the study goes in, sponsors the study, pays the people to come up with the conclusions. It's absurd. So
Yeah, I've read like 98% of medical studies are funded by the companies that are running them, trying to sell the drug. So it's pretty
imagine.
much completely taken over at this point.
All right. So look, Cody, how familiar are you with the issue of Proposition 1 in New York State? Because I think that even though it may not, Jason and Jared may not be familiar with it, I think that this is a bellwether piece of legislation that has the likelihood of, if it goes through, it will be tried to be copied in other state legislatures. So where are you at on your knowledge about that? He muted himself so that he doesn't have to answer that question.
Dan, yes, that's correct.
He's just
So-
I'm imagining F words and S words.
Yeah.
Nope, I prefer to do those unmuted. So I know enough about it to vote no. In a nutshell, the ERA is basically granting equal rights to everyone and their mother. And look, we all know that everyone has equal rights, and that what this is really doing is that it's creating a system where there are special rights, right? This is really what this is doing. And so it's giving more consideration. It's basically letting the state become the arbiter of what is equal treatment. And at the end of the day, this parents, by voting for this, will give a lot of rights to the government and their schools, to make decisions on their children's behalf. And it's already sort of like that. And if you don't know, or don't have kids in schools here, it's there's a lot that's happening that's very deferential, to the schools and not to the parents and what they have. And essentially, you're sending your kids off to be babysat for 8 hours a day. And while the kids are being babysat, the schools have exerted a great deal of control over what happens while your children are there. This comes down to, I can't tell you how Laura's daughter has her kids live in Middleburg. And Middleburg, I think, is a great school district, as far as public schools go.
Mhm.
But they have on more than one occasion sort of tried to have medical interventions, and not trans surgery or anything like that, but like vaccinations, and tried to sort of cajole the kids into getting vaccinated while they're at school, for things that they otherwise wouldn't be vaccinated for.
It's
Uh,
so, if I may jump in, so it's already eh, arguably an extension of behavior that we already see going on in
100%,
New York State.
100%, and
Okay.
this is gonna codify it, which is a problem, right? And you
Right.
can wrap something up in a name like the Patriot Act, or the Equal Rights Amendment, but at the end of the day, my son, I love my son. So my son lives in Florida. God bless him. He's living my best life. He lives in southern Brevard County. He works at Cape Canaveral. He is literally a Fed, but he is his first time really voting in Florida, in a big election. So they've got literally like 9 ballot questions, going from abortion to legalizing marijuana to just a more pedestrian, voting for president kind of stuff, right? And he walked me, and I taught him that valuable lesson where you can be sure if there's a question on the ballot that some big special interest somewhere has sponsored the petition to get the question on the ballot for reasons. He was reading to me the abortion question on the that's on the ballot, and basically it has the question, and then it has an exploratory statement, which basically, or explanatory statement, is basically telling you, it's not telling you shouldn't vote for it, but saying if this if this amendment passes, more babies will be killed. So it's like, well, who is really sponsoring this? Was it the pro-choice people? Which is really what this question is looking to ask. Will we enshrine abortion in the Constitution of the state of Florida, or will we direct the legislature to come up with legislation to do it, right? Or about the same time, it's saying if you vote for this, you're a baby killer. Thank you.
Mm.
Right? It was a really interesting dichotomy, but it's how these things are couched, right? They're couched in a veil of well, we're going to legalize weed, and a lot of people want that, and we should have it, but it also doesn't talk about giving the right to grow it at home. It doesn't give the right. It doesn't talk about the things it doesn't say, or just as insidious as the things it does. And of course, we've been seeing Ron DeSantis come out pretty emphatically with everyone he can trot out, arguing against the constitutional amendment for legalizing weed in Florida. It's like, it's very clowny, even more clowny than what's going on up here. At least we're usually limited to two or three ballot questions. There's literally 9 questions on the ballot down there, and there is zero clarity as to what the real the real motivators are. And I walked him through some of the things, and I said, well, I go, if you're not talking about home grow, you can be pretty sure that that is a corporate weed interest is trying to push through the law and what have you. So look, we're getting back to your original question, Tim,
Yeah.
about Prop 1. You can be sure that the the rainbow unicorn sparkly sunshine, equal rights part of it really has nothing to do with equal rights. It has to do with increasing government control and usurping control from parents and individuals.
Okay, so what I have right here in front of me, Cody, is something from the New York City Bar Association, and it wants us to know that Proposition One,
Because they're completely unbiased. But go ahead.
right? Like, sure. Let's withhold judgment for just a second while I read what they are stating it will do. Okay. It will establish constitutional protections against discrimination based on ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, and sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy and pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy. These protections would be in addition to the current explicit protections against racial and religious discrimination under the United States Constitution. When a right is established in the Constitution, it is protected from future legislation that might put it at risk. It will protect abortion rights and access to reproductive health care, including birth control and IVF. It will protect future state laws from banning abortion and or punishing or prosecuting pregnancy outcomes like miscarriage. It will protect LGBTQ plus New Yorkers by preventing future state laws from rolling back current LGBTQ plus rights to equal treatment. What it will not do, and so this is right, when a lawyer says something will not do something, I get a little suspicious, but it will not impact parental rights. It does not address parental rights, which are governed by other developed areas of state and federal law. Proposition 1 does not change existing law with respect to parental consent, parental's ability to be involved in decision making about healthcare or medical procedures for their minor children, including gender affirming care. Will not change current law with respect to participation. And I think this is a hot button issue because there's such a simple solution to this, but it will not change current law with respect to participation on sports teams. Proposition 1 prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity and gender expression. Proposition 1 does not change existing law and has no explicit provisions relating to participation on sports teams. Proposition 1 is consistent with Title IX, the controlling federal law that has already been interpreted by federal courts to require young people to play on sports teams that match their gender identity and expression. It will not impact or change the qualifications for voting. A separate part of the state constitution governs qualifications. So look, I think I rapidly get to this conclusion, Goss, that it is identity politics codified into law, and that if I understand it correctly, in a short article from the again Brett Weinstein, who's kind of becoming a favorite of mine, but had a lawyer on that was saying, look, this law, if it gets passed, is not actually in its final version yet. That this is what's on the ballot, just authorizes some legislatures to codify what they are calling our values into Article 1 in the New York State Constitution.
That's even worse. That's even worse.
That if that is in fact real, which I think is, as I try to track down the information that says what the ballot's going to say and what the law is going to say, it is practically impossible to find. And I'm even using an alternative browser than Google. Okay, so I have reason to be suspicious. I have people that I rely on for presenting me with good information that say that this thing is problematic. It reminds me too, in part, like the ADA and how that created an entire class of legal chicanery where people can go around and sue small businesses. It's basically like a shakedown con artist kind of thing, right? Where they're like, well, hey, the ramp doesn't measure correctly going into your building. You have to give my guy 10 grand and coincidentally give me 20 grand. You see what I'm saying? It's just like that kind of trial lawyer bonanza bullshit that has already destroyed the state, that already gets these jokers elected. And so I think it's absurd. And I am definitely, if nothing else, if I decide not to vote for anything else, I'm voting no for Proposition 1. I think it's dangerous legislation.
It sounds to me like New York State's worried Trump's going to win, and they're preemptively doing what always happens when you come from a position of weakness. Look at what happened. Okay, Trump needs to thank Biden, because I want to say this. I want to get it out.
Yeah.
Trump needs to thank Biden for winning, because no matter what happens, we were going to have an economic downturn from what we did during COVID.
100%.
No matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And Biden took that hit, and the Democrats took that hit, and they cheerfully took that hit. And I was saying this back in 2019, when this shakes down, you don't want to win. But have you guys ever heard of Curtis Yarvin?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gave a talk once. He was talking to Pete Quinones, and he said and he did this before the 2016 election. He said there's strength and weakness. And he says, if Trump loses, you're going to see policies come out where they can that are going to be more conservative policies. And I thought about that, and I thought that's very interesting. And so Trump loses, and Roe versus Wade gets pushed back to the states. Right?
Yep.
So when you're weak, the operators you do have work harder for you. And the people you don't have sit on their hands a little more because they feel like they've won.
Yeah.
And that's what this feels like to me coming out of New York.
Interesting.
Just when you read it, it sounds like they're worried because they're in one bill, they're codifying everything that they fear the Republicans are going to do.
Yeah, look, I had a request to put this up on the screen. I didn't do it because it blocks off the two handsome
No,
fellas
put
on
it
the
up. You
bottom.
can
But
Kick
let's
me
put
out
it up.
anytime.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
All right. So basically, the text of it says, "No person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws of the state or any subdivision thereof. No person shall, because of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, creed, or religion, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, and autonomy, be so subjected to any discrimination in his or their civil rights by any other person or by any firm, corporation, or institution." Like, guys, I read that and I almost fall asleep by the end of it. I don't know how you guys feel. Thank you, Matt, for putting that up there. All right.
It's-
I appreciate that.
It's all about fighting the Republicans. Now, didn't New York State have a law that came out that said you have to respect all those other pronouns, the zers and zats and all that?
I honestly don't know if we have that law, but that's certainly
I
looked
heard
like,
New York State had it, that they had 43 different identities that you had to respect at the time. And this was back in like 2017. And if that is the case, you need to file a complaint on that bill because I only saw he, her, and them.
right? No, I'm with you. Like, but that's the disaster. I think what we're doing by making fun of this is pointing out the disaster that is identity politics, that codifying these things into law are absolute legislative disasters that feed in literally, we talk about huge industries, a hidden industry that is amongst the biggest of them all, and that is the trial lawyer industry, that they make so much money that it's absurd. It's absurd.
They're rubbing their hands, waiting for the litigation that comes from this.
They right,
Chasing.
right.
Ambulance chasing.
100%. 100%. You know, you create a constitutional crisis, the lawyers are going to be busy forever.
Our man Legacy Zach put some thought into these things. Let's see what he's got to say. On paper, they're using positive speak. This is how positive law works. This is yet another defiance against your negative rights. In regards to more government control and overreach, they hate you. I still think we give them the benefit of the doubt about how much they hate us. Like, I'll be honest with you, when we get into that, like they hate us. They try to get other people to hate us. The mainstream media hates us. It's just absurd. They I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I crazy?
Well, glib disregard, maybe. Hate. I think they do hate us. I think they don't care what we think. I think they probably, you know, they wish we would go away.
Stop
I think
criticizing.
they tolerate us because we do produce at least something that they can leech off of. We're
Taxes.
basically
100%.
living in the real life matrix right now. We're just tax slaves feeding this elite class. They may not be mechanical machines, but they probably are some kind of soulless creature.
I saw an interesting a tweet, and I wish I remember who it was from. Is that the Democrat and Republican parties, it's have, you know, along with the Earth, have basically switched their magnetic poles, and the Democrats used to be the party of peace and constitutional rights and the worker, right? And
Individual
they
liberties, like
individual liberties,
yeah.
and now they become the party of the elite. The Republicans, I think, don't really know what they stand for, and I think Trump has exploited that mightily.
I hope the
And
libertarians exploit it.
well,
Arguably, so
don't hold your breath.
hang on. We had an incredible opportunity this election cycle to be incredibly impactful. Jason, why weren't we?
Oh God, this year you mean you're talking about?
I feel like the parties are in fact realigning, and we are well. What? How do you feel? Are we having an impact? Are we growing our influence? What do you think?
Look, I think there's a good case to say that what Angela's doing with the Libertarian Party, making some inroads with the Republicans and actually trying to make a difference, I think there's a good case that that is a solid move. I don't really like it. It's not what I signed up for, but okay, I see it. I really hope it works. I do. Why we don't is maybe partially because she's put her resources and efforts into doing that rather than supporting Chase. Although, as I understand, Chase's campaign has been completely silent, basically not doing anything to get any message out. So that makes it difficult.
Yep.
If we had someone like Dave Smith, love him or hate him, he's a great messenger. He can speak very well about these issues. That would have been something. He wouldn't have won the election, of course, but he would have slapped those guys around if there was any opportunity to do so.
I'm
Yeah.
going to take a minute. I'm going to take a minute here, and I'm going to defend Chase and
Do it.
Not
well,
hating on Chase at all.
No,
I
get
don't
it.
hate Chase. I'll be
but-
honest with you. I really don't. Like,
and I wanna make sure you address the fact that each of the major campaigns literally has $1 billion to spend, right?
mhm.
So whatever message they want to get, whatever poll they want to buy, whatever show they want to get on or fly to, they can do it, right? I mean, Trump has had I'm sorry, Joe Rogan has had Trump, Vance, and Tulsi was on a long time ago, but Trump, Vance, and just had Elon on today, and of course Kamala. I think Kamala kind of blew that. Fetterman sent Fetterman as a proxy. I don't get that, but he did to Joe Rogan.
I listened to John Fetterman, and I don't want to interrupt.
He was pretty cogent.
I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but he is a guy that channels the Trump energy for the left. Okay, he's
100%.
a very real human being with a very real, even though like somewhat sporadic way of speaking, and his way of dressing and his overall appearance of I'm a big dude, I'm not that good looking, I'm here to love people and make this country a better place is exactly Trump's vibe. They just approach it from the opposite ends of this political spectrum, but they have the same vibe. I loved him a little bit. I think he's funny, right? So I'm sorry. Go back to your train of thought. I just wanted to
on the energy point. That's what Chase is missing. I think is just he's not bringing that energy to get people excited. Even if he's not going to win, do something. Like he was invited on Timcast and he said no. Maybe the conditions weren't great for him, but it would have been some exposure. He probably could have got on Rogan or something if he started making some noise. I don't know, but I just feel
I'm
like
with you, brother. I'm with you. I want to support what you're saying there. I agree with you.
No, and I don't think it's a lack of energy on Chase's part. Chase is an unapologetic libertarian. I'm not concerned about that. And I'm not concerned about the energy he brings to his message. If you've seen some of the stuff that he put out there while he was running for Senate in Georgia, by the way, split the vote, right? Caused a runoff in Georgia.
He did. I was very happy to see that. That was
100%.
Awesome.
How great was it, right?
It was fantastic.
So
I compare that to the Blake Masters strategy of withdrawing and still like losing. We could have stayed in and said, "See, you should have listened to us." But we didn't. We withdrew and lost because of it. Like we lost any credibility there. But I'm sorry. Keep interrupting.
No, that's okay. So I do. The problem is your message is only as good as the money you have to put your message out there, and that means, to Chase's credit, he you know, he went places that libertarian candidates have never gone before. You know, he's been, I believe he's been to all 50 states. And I
Tim, what are you laughing at?
Oh,
Oh,
there's
I'm sorry.
there was a joke to drop in there on you, Cody, and I just left it alone.
no, go
Carry
ahead.
on.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
nope.
Okay.
Now it's
No,
ruined.
not gonna
I
do it.
I
Okay.
didn't
Too late.
interrupt you with
Too
it,
late.
so it's not worth doing.
All right. So, but he's been to all 50 states, and
That's
it's
great.
and on a budget, you know,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
you know,
the
and
budget thing's
you know,
huge.
it is, but
Yeah.
how do you raise money from the constituents of a party that is in complete and utter upheaval right now?
Have we
And
tried candy sales?
look, we ran into this problem with Larry, raising money for Larry in 22, right? It was a big problem,
Sure.
and it became, and you know, the fact that there's other problems there, but the fact is that people see what's going on the national stage with the Libertarian Party, and they kind of unfortunately they view it like a clown show, right? And
Yeah,
I
Do you
think
think
that,
it's coming back? Is it completely ruined after this departure, or can it come back?
well,
no, well, that's a good question. I don't know. Go
I-
ahead, Jared. I'm sorry.
no, nothing to apologize for. I don't see the Libertarian Party as, and no offense to anyone, they're the most important party. The Libertarian Party, from its inception, has always been the party that bolsters and changes the weak.
Mhm.
So during Vietnam, the Libertarians moved towards the anti-war parties. And so back then it was, you know, we had the 4-party split. You had conservative and progressive, and conservative and progressive on your Republican and Democrat respective sides. And the Libertarian Party would go and bolster for whichever party was weak. So during the 60s and 70s, it was the anti-war parties, including the Communist Party. The Libertarians, Mises commonly met with the communist organizations and bolstered them. Nowadays, they're mostly bolstering the Republican side. And there are a few things where libertarians split off. And that goes to the libertarians. But, you know, they'll split off and try to fight for the gender rights and those things. But that is also important. My big question is now a good time for libertarians to start infiltrating these parties with their message and joining that party wholeheartedly? Now, I'm a registered independent, you know, just because I can't stomach any of them because they all turn gold into shit. But is now a good time for the libertarians? Like out here, I have one basis that demands my vote, and that's the First and Second Amendments. That is it. That is the only thing, you know. And
Everything
Kamala
else
Harris,
falls without them, right?
I
let's
mean,
be
you
honest.
guys don't live in a free state. That's okay. You know, come out here. This weekend I fired 1,000 rounds. Last weekend I taught a pistol class. The
Nice.
weekend before that, and this is every weekend I am shooting a weapon of some sort, and that's what I do. I've done it all my adult life.
That's
but
awesome.
Out
That's
here
really
you can,
awesome.
and I don't have to pay to do it. I just
Well-
go to the mountain and do it.
Well, we can do those things. Like upstate New York is not New York City.
Oh yeah, we
and-
have the
and
guns.
we are in fact sitting on the internet saying these things, and no one has ever kicked in
Good,
my door.
good.
Right? Like there is a certain perception of this state.
What are the
It doesn't
state
meet up
laws
with the reality.
surrounding guns, though?
What we
Do you have
we
to
can
register
shoot.
them? Do you have to do all that?
Yes.
They are
Yes.
increasing registration of long guns, but you could still buy whatever's legal.
Okay,
to
so
buy here.
when you buy a pistol, how long does it take before that pistol goes home with you?
Let me walk you through that.
Yeah,
So
because
because
you're gonna be
because
you're like, wow, that sucks.
because I've actually done this. So you have, when you want to buy, so you have, let's just say you already have your permit, right? When you get
Tell me about the permit, though. This permitting thing.
Sure. So the permit is for, well, now you need a permit for long guns as well. But
True.
the permit is issued by it depends. It varies from the process varies from county to county. Where my license currently hangs in Columbia County, and the way the process works is you have to fill out an application. You pay like $5 or $10 for the actual application, get a copy of it, you fill it out, hand it in. They follow up with your 4 in county references. Took about 60 days for my permit to get approved. You get a letter from the surrogate court that says your permit has been approved. Now you can go pick up a gun. That's the other thing. You have to have a gun to have a permit. So
You have to have a permit to have a gun, right?
Both. So you have to be issued a permit to buy a gun, but then to keep your permit, you have to have a gun. listed on your
Okay.
Permit. So whatever. So took my permit, or it took the letter from the surrogate judge, said, they issued me a permit, like to pick out a gun. So I pick out a gun. You buy the gun. They give you a receipt. You take the receipt back to the county clerk. County clerk forwards it to the surrogate judge in the county. And then they approve it for sale. They give you a letter. You can take the letter. They update your
I'm dying.
yeah. I know.
Okay,
Well,
like,
but now
I
that
was
being
go-
said, the incremental buys don't take that long. I know Columbia County surrogate judge is very fast. It's like 2 days. It's not a huge wait. They just changed the process here in Schoharie County where I live right now. So they went from a clear only sheriff run process to the same system that Columbia County uses.
Is your sheriff
and
elected or appointed?
elected?
Okay, good. Let me tell you about Utah. I have a couple times in my life in happier days wandered in and bought 7 guns at the same time and walked out with 7 guns in under. It takes longer for me to pick the gun than it does for me to get the okay from the lords to buy it.
Wow, that's something.
And that includes MP5 clone was one of those guns.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, when I bought my SCAR, I went in and walked out with the SCAR in under 5 minutes. I go in, I fill out a 4473. They call a number. The number says, yeah, he's not listed up for any felonies or crimes. And they say, thank you very much, sir. Have a wonderful day.
And that's the federal instant background check, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. The Utah is very gun friendly. I mean, just in my town of, some 30 something thousand people, we have one dedicated gun store that's only guns, and then 4 other places that sell guns.
Okay.
And it's simple. And those are sporting / gun store. No, 6 other places,
Yep.
And then I'm a instructor for pistols, and we just go up to the side of the mountain, set up a course and run it.
Just like that.
Just like that.
It's not that you can't do that here. You just have to, it's just, you sort of have to consider your audience, right? Like Columbia County, you wouldn't be able to get away with that nowadays anymore. Schoharie County, it's pretty regular.
We try bringing Democrats to our class.
How'd that go?
We do. Yeah, but and lots of other states are like us. We have no extra gun restrictions.
Yep.
Whatever you want, you can have. Now it's just federal laws. If I want to own a fully automatic weapon, I've got to get a stamp, or if I want to have a suppressor, I have to have a stamp. But
right.
Or depending on what I'm hunting, there's requirements in what I hunt with,
Sure.
Is it non-traditional? Is it, whatever, but
Right.
I don't know. But that is the one, I mean, that's what I vote on because I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment. Therefore I have to love the second because I think the second is the bulwark for the first.
Well,
I-
to me,
I'm with
it's
you.
a bulwark for all of them. But
It is. But the first is the ultimate. Once
Yep.
they've taken the first, they've taken the ultimate negative right. Once they've taken the ultimate negative right,
Yep.
there's no more discussion to be had.
Right.
You know, there's hills. That's a hill you have to die on.
And if Kamala gets elected, what are the odds that people do start dying on that hill?
Well, here's the question. What has Kerry said in the last 2 months? What has Clinton said in the last 2 months? What was Kamala saying just before she got in there? All
Just
of them
before
are
she
saying,
moderated and ran to the center, right? Like, let's be honest, that everything she has said in the last few months that is even remotely positive are things that she directly contradicted in the not too distant past. And I am incredibly concerned that people don't see that. Like,
Yep.
just stop it already. Guys, I want to point you to, I don't know if you can read the poll that I've got up on the my Twitter page. Guys, you can follow me at Tim for Senate, but I got a question going out there to the collapsitarians. Like, who there are a certain segment of the libertarian population who thinks that perhaps this is all going to break down. So the choices are Kamala, Donald, Chase, or me. And I just want to point out I'm in second place to Donald Trump.
"Oh, you got my vote, Tim.
Thank you
100%."
very much. Yeah, thank you very much. A second place is not too bad in that poll, you know?
No. And I feel bad about Chase. You know, he was on the ballot out here in Utah. I'm
Yeah.
extremely I was pleased to see him on the ballot. My essentially stepson voted for him. You know, he's more left leaning, but he's young. So I
Yeah.
mean, when
Yeah.
you're young, you're retarded. It's
Yeah,
just
but
is what it is.
Left-leaning libertarian when you're young is literally like, what is that dude going to be when he's like 40?
That's-
Forget about it.
That's
You know what I
that's
mean?
the only youth I'd trust. He hasn't been jaded yet. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And he's already expressing somewhat of a distrust of the government. So that's great. Tim for dictator. I mean, guys, I would be the most benevolent, disinterested dictator ever. I would be completely accountable to people with freedom because I think that they're the most dangerous. And would be like, all right, yeah, we have some cops, but like, you know, let's all be cool. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be cool. Let's work out this road things. You guys got towns, work out the road things. I'll build some bridges, maybe. Okay, but you're gonna have to pay for them. Like that.
you know
kind
what?
of thing.
The government will have a website you can go to with contractors we trust that you can hire.
Well, we used to put everything out for bids, and now we put nothing out for bids. Everything seems to have moved to a cost plus BlackRock benefit model. It's like, hey, guess who's in the business of shuffling migrants all over the country? BlackRock. Look,
Yep.
we had buses for this last event. Let's start a new business and just start, you know, filling our coffers with
Now do
government money.
Halliburton.
Yeah,
You know,
They got-
seriously, and is that where it started?
Halliburton's model.
You
Yes.
read about Grant. Grant was awful for this, and you know, we've always been this way. Government can never not be corrupt. It can never not. You know,
I agree.
pick your favorite president, and they've got a black stain. Calvin Coolidge has a black stain.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I
There's
wanted
gotta be a
to.
joke there. I wish I was quicker.
Yeah.
Tim was
Something's in
president.
there. If I was president, 100% confidence he would be the fastest. The deep state would take me out. He's right. I don't even want to be. Don't even vote for me. I don't. He's right. I got.
Dude, you just need to move like this nonstop. Just
Look over here.
just
Look
bob
over there.
and weave.
Squirrel. There's the
Hire-
squirrel.
hire a guy to play that Indian
Yeah.
flute the whole time and just dance.
All right.
But I want to probe you guys on something.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is the right venue for this, but
it is.
so where in the modern day Gutenberg press times? That's where we are.
I love this.
compare
I love
this
this
to the-
analogy. Do it. Yeah. Go ahead.
I compare this to the 30 Years' War, where Gutenberg press has been invented. Martin Luther has nailed his manifesto to the
Protestations.
church.
Yeah.
You know, all that's going on. We're tearing ourselves apart. But right now we sit on something different where AI is coming, and that is inevitably going to hit our economy in ways that we're not ready for. The automobile made big changes. You guys, New York City had a big argument about the horse manure shovelers, and it was a big deal.
Oh
But
yeah.
this one is going to eliminate a whole bunch of different jobs. And these are jobs, a lot of them are your college educated jobs, your elite jobs. You know, I don't think AI is going to quite start turning wrenches and hammering drywall up yet. But what happens when it goes after the paralegals and when it goes after, right there, imagine a lawyer office that employs AI could have a lawyer and he could be taking on the biggest cases and have an AI pick it apart. It's going to destroy our media industry outright. I mean, pretty soon everything, they're going to have to write at the bottom of their news story which AI bot they used to write it. What is this future going to look like?
Well, or not. You may never know what's been written by AI. We have I have a client of mine who's a multinational publisher, and they deal with a lot of authors and things like that, and it's already kind of becoming an opportunity / challenge, right? Because they're writing and publishing a lot of academic works, and as we've seen at the ivory towers of Harvard and things like that, plagiarism is a problem, right? So they're already sort of having to grapple with the ethical questions of it. Like, is it more productive? Yeah, for the authors, but what kind of dross are you putting out there, and are you attributing it to someone who didn't really write what they wrote? I think the ethical questions are very slippery as well.
It is. It's crazy. And Zach says AI will eliminate jobs, but it will also add new jobs. Maybe. So in my podcast, I have an old podcast that I played with ChatGPT when it first came out. And one crazy thing that it can do is not only can it write code, but it can look at code to see if it'll function and test it. So AI then gets to where it can heal code you're trying to have it write, and that knocks out that main job that you're looking at it creating would be coders. Whereas the automobile came around and all those horseshit shovelers kids became mechanics.
Yeah. And
they filled a gap that the automobile brought. Mechanics and tire salesmen and gas station, the guy who did the hay. Have you ever read about how much horse crap New York City got rid of annually in 1900?
I don't know where. Somewhere along the line, I was just millions. Yeah,
millions of tons.
Didn't they used to build on it? Like, isn't New York City like entirely horse manure and garbage, like dumped into the ocean until it filled up? I'm pretty sure it was a tiny little postage stamp size of an island. Well, maybe a little bigger than that. And they started taking their garbage and building on it.
But the horse shit alone, when they ran those numbers, and you're like, what? But that was the whole industry ran on horses, on horsepower. And when they changed over to the automobile, all that horsepower had to go away. And there were riots, like burn down buildings riots, trying to get the government to outlaw cars in New York City. But there was a place that people went after that. The question is, and I'm not saying there isn't, the question is,
all right, so
is there going to be that same gap when AI fully comes on board and matures? And then are we going to be forced to be marched into government servitude because of that? And that's what scares me.
Okay, so arguably, I thought that this was a little bit profound here. AI won't take your job. Someone using it will. So your argument is that jobs are going to get lost. Matt's position, and look, my brother used to, my younger brother used to, and this is purely anecdotal, obviously, right? But my younger brother used to run a UPS outlet, like a store, not a store, but a delivery center. Okay. And those guys would fight automation and technological advancement tooth and nail because they were going to lose jobs. And it was like every single time we finished upgrading to a new technology, there was actually more jobs. And he's like, I can't even really explain it. Like, he's not a science kid. He's like a high school graduate kid who just like, is very impressive, kind of hardworking kid, you know? So he's like, but we always ended up with more people. It never ended up being less people. To your point, like, I've always felt that we are standing in the way of flying cars and technological advancement and like expanding situations beyond our possibility because we cling to old ways. And now that I'm an old dude and never got my fucking flying car, I'm pissed off. All right. I got fucking robbed and it's bullshit. Okay. So these things are real if we embrace the future without fear. Yes, the Luddites are going to fight the fact that we got to have longshoremen. Guess what? We don't actually have to have the same number of
Singapore has proven
longshoremen
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
we could move more. It's
Oh,
efficient.
I'm not.
It's safer. I'm just saying but that unleashes the creative mind. That unleashes the creative humanity. So, like, look what cars did in the generations between 1900 and now. Look at, like,
100%.
they were like rubber metal death traps that you would damage your back riding into. Like, now, if you spend enough money, you got one that'll drive itself. The next,
I'm not arguing against that because I want this future. But my
Right.
question is, will we have to turn ourselves over to a government UBI model to achieve that?
yes, I think that a negative income tax and UBI is on the horizon, and I do not think that we can stop it.
And that is the concern for me because
Sure.
then you turn yourself over to where, forget dystopian model, but as anyone can see, I'm a hunter, right?
Yeah.
Will
Yeah,
that be
absolutely.
out in that case? That's one of my hobbies, my sports. Will that be out? Will things like that be out?
If AI can eviscerate government power, no. The whole goal of AI advancements would to be to, like, allow you to hunt more, okay? But then you would get involved in being even better conservationist, right? Like, you would be like, hey, I can't hunt 365 days a year. I'm going to kill every fucking deer on this hill, right? So then what would you turn your attention to? What I'm saying is we've barely tapped into the human potential. That's the part that I want to believe in, that the gods of scarcity that are running the government right now do this to us deliberately, that keep us forced and trapped in places like we're at, where we know they hate us, but they, like, TV should be free right now, man. Like, if we had a sound monetary policy, technological advancement has come so far that we shouldn't have to pay $300 for a 55-inch big screen TV. It should be $1. Like that, robots could provide us with those kind of opportunities. Now, I'm a futurist and I'm an optimist when we get into these conversations. That does not preclude me from knowing that our government and the power structures will do everything they can to keep us at each other's throats, to capture that technological advancement for their own benefit, like for the government's benefit, for war's benefit. Like, that's the reality. So it's obviously a conundrum.
But that's the way it's always been, right? With DARPA and
Sure.
a lot of innovation like GPS, has come out of the military industrial complex and those kinds of developments,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So that they can continue to use it as a parasitic enhancement. Like, right? Like,
Well,
go ahead.
I think the government's going to use AI to govern us more. Let's
What
just
was
put
that?
that gently.
Did you watch that TV show where there was like everybody was being observed. It was a long running TV show, and it had the guy that
Person of interest.
yes, that's the one,
I
right?
did.
Where it was like everything was captured on a camera somewhere,
Well-
and then there became, and we're there, right?
Well, let's look at that. London, England, right now. Do you think that they're going door to door for those Facebook posts just because someone turned them in or they saw them? Or do you think London maybe has some search engines just scrolling through looking for phrases and words?
100%.
100%, 100%. It's automated. Automated.
And that's happening in a city, and then again, greaterly in a nation. And of course, Scotland is playing their game with it. We're going to see it in New York City. I guarantee you that.
Yep.
So, and that's not to say, I'm just wondering, like, the utopian dream, the like where robots work for us and there's a zero scarcity, we're gonna have to figure that one out. Like right now, we face two scary things on the horizon. We've got the demographic collapse globally that's happening right now.
Mhm.
And that's a scary thing. But if AI comes on board, could that possibly negate that global demographic collapse?
In relation to your question, why is a demographic collapsing? Why are we not reproducing at replacement rates or
If
growth
we-
rates?
If we go off historically, it's because, well, there's a mix. Bureaucracy globally has grown, and everywhere bureaucracy has grown the most, demographics have collapsed. The cities have swollen, and more people move into cities. And historically, over time, going back to Mesopotamia, you have less kids when you move into a city. Children are more of a burden and less of a value than when you live out in the country. Our economic model has made it to where having children is more of a cost burden by bringing both parents into the workforce and taxing them as such and making it almost impossible to live without that two-person income. So yeah,
I'm gonna add two more things to that. I'm gonna add
Yeah.
ubiquity of online porn. Be really
Yeah.
brief. I think that has contributed greatly to sexual dysfunction that has not been seen ever.
Ever.
that-
in
Ever.
both ways too.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's the facts. What can I say?
And you think what?
It's the
It's a-
facts.
Oh, I'm sure that's a big part of it. The stuff that we've seen come out of that, not to get canceled. We don't need to go on that. There's also, Greece had a feminist movement there at the end.
At the end of Greece.
Yeah, towards the end. It comes out in the end of every civilization. I've been screaming this for a while
old
now.
Greece. I thought you meant recent.
Yeah.
Greece.
I was-
Ancient
at
Greece,
first I was-
Hellenic Greece.
I caught
I
up
watched
to
him
Jared
collapse
'cause we've
5
had
times the past 20
similar
years.
conversations. I was with him, but
Yeah.
I could see where you were not. That was great.
Hellenic Greece had a feminist movement, and I don't blame feminist for any ladies out there. I don't blame feminism for the collapse. Feminism is a symptom of the disease of the collapse. Feminism is, so is androgynism, where boys start acting like girls, girls start acting like boys. Greece, Rome, another place that's crazy. Look up the movement that was around, the motions that were around during the golden age of Islam, when the golden age of Islam collapsed. And the thing that pushes over the edge is either a big war or a natural disaster every time, then poof, it's gone.
And look, none of those things I have a problem with, right? Like, I mean, you do you, but please don't ask for a special treatment, right? And I see, but you see all those things, right? You see those things, and you wonder if people are so busy challenging the narrative of what a man or woman could be. Is that also a contributing factor, to
Yeah.
the reproductive dip we find ourselves in?
Yeah. And plastics in the water. We know that, well, they think it's
Microplastics.
plastics, but the grundle on men have gotten shorter and shorter. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. There's a hot take. The grundle is the little part where that split you. And then the grundle taint. I don't know what they call it back east.
Yes, go ahead, carry on.
Testosterone is plummeted. Sperm count is plummeted. They did a sperm count test from like the 70s and now, and it is crazy. The sperm count has plummeted. It's like less than a tenth of what it was 40 years ago.
Now, there was a study, and I want to say it was the Calhoun study that took rats and put them in a big pit, and they thrived for like
I think it's
generations, right?
Universe 21 is the name of the study, I think.
All right.
They've done it over and over and the same outcome every time.
So, which is in an era where science is not able to be reproduced with any kind of regular occurrence, that this in fact does reproduce is kind of epic, right? Like that this is a real analogy, allegory, or some sort of explanation in the rise and fall of civilizations, and how at the end stages the birth rate collapses. That
You get 250 years. Make
right.
with it what you will.
That's the number. That's the magic number we're coming up on.
So
Great.
where's the next great empire to be built? Is somewhere in Africa? I'm kind of hoping for Africa. Hadn't had a turn in a while. It could even be Russia. Russia's going through a hard time, and hard times harden the men, and hard men make stuff great. I don't know. It could be anywhere. Who knows? Where is the next one? I'm excited to see it bloom.
First of all, that's the indomitable nature of the human species, right? That we will, whatever happens, probably rise from that, like expanding to Mars and stuff like that's all exciting. But what I give a shit about my kids here now, like, do I want them to spend 10 years in a spacecraft and live in a barren island? And also, heading to Mars is a bad idea. We need to head like closer to the sun. Everything's expanding outward, according to Terrence Williams. Yeah, everything's expanding outwards. Why were we going to go where it's getting colder? That's nutty. That's absolutely absurd.
Remember, we evolved in the Ice Age, though.
We're
designed to live. We're designed to survive it. We are cavemen.
I feel good about it. I just wish I could live longer. Like, I'm already old, like I was always hoping for that moment of societal collapse. I'll be honest with you. Like, I would have been.
You may still get it this week.
I know. No, I'm too old to enjoy it.
This week,
it's like
tomorrow.
I have to take Eliquis. What happens if society breaks and I can't get my Eliquis, bro? Like, now I'm vested in the game.
Nah, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine.
I'll be fine.
Well, talk to me after this. I'll tell you how to do it without Eliquis.
All right, perfect.
I always do.
All right.
Lowered my cholesterol by 50% in 6 months without.
Hang on. Do you know what Eliquis is, though?
I don't.
Okay. I have a clotting disorder that I was born with that it manifested itself when I was about 48, 46, somewhere in there. And so I got a blood clot in my leg, got it treated for a while, stopped taking the medicine, and it reoccurred. So now I'm like on a protocol demands that I'm on a lifetime anticoagulant. I was taking warfarin for a long time. But then Eliquis, a revolutionary, still patented medicine, came along. And honestly, I love it because warfarin basically prevents clotting by destroying red blood cells, which, as you can imagine, would lead to fatigue and overwork of your body, right?
Yeah.
Eliquis does not do that. It inhibits a clotting factor. I thought it was mRNA, but my doctor gave me a long lecture. I'm still not convinced that it's not an mRNA modifier, but still, like, it prevents a clotting interaction so that at the end of the day, you have less clotting material available. So, big fan of Eliquis. It certainly impacted my energy level.
All right. Here's what I want you to do.
Yeah.
I want you to go on Jace Medical.
Jace Medical. All right.
Uh-huh. And I want you monthly to buy extra.
Okay.
And that's Jace Medical is one of those places that does that. I'm a, a Mormon boy. We're all preppers. Mormons are
Preppers.
natural
Yeah,
preppers. I mean, that's why I buy all the firearms and food I buy. But
Right.
yeah, go to Jace Medical, check it out.
They got the ivermectin packs too, that Jace Medical. I think I saw this somewhere.
I think they do, but if not, you can buy those from India. Here's
All right.
another going down
Oh.
conspiracy future routes. What if the mRNA jab that they just gave us was a test run to see if mRNA works? Because I was pondering, what if they can use mRNA to fight specific diseases? What if it's got a positive future outcome?
Okay, so you and I have this kind of, and Cody, I hopefully we're not excluding you. I'll bring you in this, but I want to say,
Oh,
that I think-
you know how I feel about all this.
I think the
Tim, so
mRNA
don't you worry.
technology in and of itself is absolutely the future of medicine, but that to use it to produce a spike protein in your body is not an application that my futuristic mind would have ever prepared for, where you can use something that it spikes or changes your mRNA enough for it to repair your liver or your pancreas or your heart seems entirely possible to me, combined with some sort of stem cell therapy. Like, it just seems like this is all about creating the right proteins in your body to deliver them to the right spot in your body at the right time. But what in the fuck is creating a spike protein going to do? Like, to mimic a byproduct of a disease that it's supposed to then grant you immunity for, which I think just philosophically you could see that there would be philosophically, I don't even think it's philosophical. You could see that there would be a problem with that methodology.
It's literally made to make you sick. It's literally made to make you sick.
Well, yeah, and I think it was just a cash grab before the collapse. You think the wealthy people don't know we're on this path? I'm a moron. I am poor and a moron, and I can see we're on this path. I just like reading history once in a while, and you read about it and you're like, oh, we're doing that. Oh,
look, I can predict the future by reading history. It's amazing.
And they've got, I mean, remember, they hire smart people to tell them what's going on. There are rich people who hire people like Peter Zeihan to say, hey, what is tomorrow going to look like? And so they already know this. I think it was completely a cash grab. And maybe if at the same time they could get the first mass study of mRNA changing technology out, not even to test it to prove it to the FDA, although maybe that helps, just to see what it did on their own. And maybe it was, hey, you know what? AI's coming, and it'd be nice if we depopulated a little bit en route.
No, look, everybody who got the jab is essentially part of the phase 4 clinical trial.
Yeah. You're like a guy who buys a P320 from Sig Sauer. You're the R&D.
You're the test. You're the test model. All right.
Yeah, and that's what I think happened. I think the glib disregard for quality control and for what those lapses of quality control did to people is it's incomprehensible to me, and I fear that no one will ever be prosecuted for it.
But the thing is it's only comprehensible to me because remember there was the syphilis studies. You had and the syphilis studies. What was it? The ones in Chile. Don't read about those if you don't want to be freaked out. Because
or Tuskegee experiments, right?
The Tuskegee was nothing. Tuskegee, they just took guys that had syphilis and told them they're treating it when they weren't. They gave syphilis to the people down there. Remember all the MK Ultra stuff. If you dive into Artichoke, like they said to one hospital up in Canada, they're like, hey, you run these tests on electroshock therapy. And that guy said, oh, great, I'll do it to mothers suffering from postpartum. Break it down for me. You've got the governments are 100% willing to sacrifice you on the altar.
100%.
You'll get no argument from me. I do want to point out Rock and Troll, who formerly Repent or Burn, I believe, but my buddy on Twitter, he's like, I truly believe you guys are being too charitable to the world governments. I think there's a direct correlation between the advancement of AI and the globalist depopulation agenda. I get a distinct Malthusian vibe from these psychopaths and their conversations surrounding how we're supposed to interact with our environment. And their conclusion always comes to the population appears to be too high. And so what can we do to encourage a depopulation strategy that will benefit everyone that survives? And it's like, I put nothing past them. I think we're making the case here that they are capable of great evil. Okay, so
Yep.
in the name of science or in the name of improving the planet, they have so many platitudes that they can turn to now to make these things appealing to them, that they're like, and look, guys, I've had positions of power. You get a certain high off of making people uncomfortable and telling them what to do, right? Like there's a certain thing, there's a certain piece of your id that gets fed by that. Like, oh, we've got to make some difficult decisions, and this is really gonna suck for you.
100%.
It's real.
100%. No, he's not wrong at all. And
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say this puberty blockers in the 12-year-olds isn't a part of the same thing?
Well, it certainly plays into any kind of degrowther strategy, right? And an identitarian division of human beings. Like whatever you want to claim your identity is, we will not encourage you or dissuade you to mold yourself to something that's appealing to other people. It's all about you.
Not just that, but you got a white liberal mother coming in with their 5-year-old, right?
Mhm.
And their 5-year-olds doing what 5-year-olds do, put on mom's high heels the night before.
Oh
She
my
drags
God,
them to a
I've
doctor,
got a girl.
and the doctor says, "Oh, you know what? I'm sponsored by this pharmaceutical company. Let's put you on this irrevocably changing medication that's going to stop you from developing puberty. It's going to weaken your bones too, but we won't mention that right now." You know?
Yep.
It's happening.
Well,
Well,
I know.
Look, and statins is like the other, is the other big thing. I went to my doctor the first time in 4 years, late last year, and he was like, "Well, you're 50 now, and you should probably get a shingles vaccine." And I was like, "Doc, a few things that happened the past years that I need to explain to you." The past few years, and kind of gave him the treatise, and that's when he said, "Well, my cholesterol has always been high, and so in my total cholesterol at the lab test before this particular appointment was about 300, and my ratio is pretty good, but total cholesterol is higher than what they say it should be,
Right.
which is all sort of, if you depending
Some
on
ambiguity in there, I would say, but go ahead.
yeah, and you read read the research, and is that cholesterol serves a purpose. Is too much of it bad? Maybe under certain circumstances, sure. So he goes, I encourage you to do diet and exercise, and if a diet and exercise doesn't work, then we do statins. I go, tell you what, order me another test for 6 months from now, and I will right the ship. And it was CoQ10 and niacin. And I dropped my cholesterol by 150 points, literally
Wow.
in half in 6 months. So
I did it by eating red meat. Like I fixed my
but
triglycerides.
but here's the thing: I doubled down on the red meat too.
Good.
So it's not like my lipid series looks amazing now, and for no other reason than I'm not paying attention to the medical to the medical industrial complex.
It's
so look-
tough, right? I would love to find me a hippie doctor wearing beads that'll say, "Hey, if you take this plant and this plant, and it'll help you out." Or if I mean, look at the food pyramid. What did they
upside
say
down.
was good on the food pyramid? They said this crap was.
Yep.
They-
I
you
gladly
can buy that
partook
crap
of it
with
tonight.
food stamps. You can buy fucking Taco Bell with food stamps. Are you
Yep.
kidding me? Like,
yeah, and red meat is good for you. Red meat's healthy. Meat is healthy. We're designed. We're a meat-eating critter.
yeah.
Matthew says, "What are your thoughts on Mark Cuban's
I
cost
want to,
plus
I
drug?"
want to swing us back to pragmatic,
Yes.
libertarians where we're talking to the world instead of, which I think our conversation that we had is important, especially
I
as
like
part of our-
conspiracy cast. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the one. I've got a Kevlar in my closet that has tinfoil on it just in case. I'm one of those. I say every man in this country right now, you need to buy an AR-15, an AK-47, something. Every man in this country, you need to have a combat loadout in your closet.
All right, I will accept that, but for consideration at the moment,
Yes.
what do you think about Mark Cuban's cost plus drug? Just as a little background, he is creating a new business that basically is going hard into, and maybe Matthew will add some more comments, but it's going hard into the mail order drug business and the wholesale buy concept and then redistribute.
So he sees there's libraries. He wants to start Amazon.
That's that's kind of what,
It's
That's a
ingenious.
pretty good analogy. Yeah.
It's ingenious. Look, the what's his name that started Amazon? Ingenious. Order books online. Now he sells everything. He says right now, people today, I have friends who go onto a website in India to buy ivermectin and have it shipped to them. Right?
That's beautiful.
Mark Cuban's just saying, I want to fill that gap. You know, I'm not saying he's a dumb guy at all. He's a smart guy. That's why he's super rich and you know.
Now,
I also don't think he's the guy who's going to be selling ivermectin. I think he's still have to go to India to buy that. But
hang on.
Yeah.
I have a theory that I'll present to you, Cody, first. What Mark Cuban is actually doing, okay, with his cost plus drugs and his current advocacy for the existing regime is lobbying without writing the checks. Okay. So what he's doing is saying, hey, I'm here for you, Kamala. When it comes time, I want you here for me. Like when these contracts for Medicaid and Medicare go out to bid, I want to be in on that process. And he's doing it. His effort does not go unnoticed by me. It's also under he is, guys, do you know he started at 16 years old going door to door selling garbage bags, right? This kid is one of the greatest salesmen that the world has ever seen and turned himself into a billionaire from just sheer hustle. Like he didn't have $1 billion. He didn't have $1 million. This kid selling garbage bags door to door. I am impressed with him in a lot of ways, but I know what he's doing here with cost plus drugs.
Well, sure.
That's the reality.
And what's the number one stores that are closing in the country right now?
Pharmacies are closing all over the place.
Pharmacies are the number one stores. Everything else has moved online. Everything else.
Yep.
The one thing that hasn't moved online yet is an online pharmacy. He's going to fill that gap. He's just got to work out the bugs, keep it legal, and then bam, he's in there.
Buy a politician for cheap, okay? By going on Twitter and advocating for him. Like he puts himself right up at the top end of the competitive market that is lobbying, right? Like by being a mouthpiece for the regime, even if Trump gets in, he still is left. He hasn't been rude enough to be completely thrown out of the whole process, right? He's been like, I'm just saying Kamala's better, Don. You know what I mean? Like, and here's why.
And he's also building the ball field.
Yeah, man.
If you build the ball, they will come.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. There's going to be a need for that because Walgreens are shutting down.
My
Rite Aids are closing.
Shut down. Like they couldn't get a new pharmacist, and they're like, we'll see. And that's it. They haven't filled the prescription in months now.
It's moving online, and he's preempting that. It's a genius move, and so it doesn't matter who wins. He's going to have the ball field that everyone's going to play on.
Right. And yes, like Shark Tank was like a scam, right? Like this is just him doing what Trump did, keeping his face in front of crowds, showing that he's reasonable. Same as Kevin O'Leary. These guys are just, this is marketing for them, like $100,000 invested on a show like that 5 times a year is way cheaper than advertising an esoteric product when they are in fact the product. Like,
And they also get paid for being on the show.
sure, they probably make a profit, right? Like
100%.
yeah. So the leftist news media is saying Trump has gotten fat recently and that he needs to start taking Ozempic from cost plus drugs. Arguably, Shelley is postulating or positing that he's wearing Kevlar.
He'd be dumb not to.
He would be insane not to. Absolutely.
I would stand at the exit office at Norfolk and at Fort Liberty now, used to be Bragg, and I'd hire every Delta and every Navy SEAL that walked out of there on retirement.
Sure.
I would hire every one of them.
They're what, 45-year-old dudes, right?
They
At the
are
oldest?
38,
38, maybe, like
as
they're
they're
killers.
leaving, bad taste in their mouth. They've been paid horse crap, so you can still pay them just horse crap, sprinkle of salt.
You could triple the horse crap and
and-
still have a pretty good deal.
And these guys, they know their job.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so all right. We'll try to wrap up in about less than 20 minutes because we've
All
been
right.
at this for about 3 hours.
And
But
also, it's late where you guys are.
that's correct. I
It's-
want a few takes on Donald Trump's performance this election cycle. And I'll start with this. At first, I was incredibly disappointed with his rabble rousing. Like, what I liked about him in 2016 was that he was the thumb in the eye of the establishment. And this year, for the longest time, he kind of let me down. He was not. Kamala kicked his ass in that debate. Like, regardless that it lacked substance, she made him look bad. How did
Yeah,
he?
she got him fired up at the wrong time. He was very moderated this go round.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Strategy going to pay off tomorrow?
Ooh, that's the big question. What does tomorrow look like?
Yeah, that's the question. Cody Anderson, what do you think? You got thoughts on this? Who's winning?
Well, so important to note, I was never a Trump fan, right?
Right.
Except sort of halfway through. Well, it wasn't even a fan. Halfway through the administration, I admitted to myself that he was not that bad, and I just sort of let it unfold, right?
Right.
I think he's absolutely better than Biden or Harris.
Right.
I think that the unity coalition matters for a lot. So from my standpoint as a rational thinking person, I'm kind of, yes, he has toned down the rhetoric. I sort of think it's helped him in light of all the other shit that's been thrown at him. And I think he or his advisors realized that he had to moderate not his platform as much as his behavior, right? And I think that's probably helped him this time around. I think it probably will help him this time around. We'll know hopefully tomorrow night or the next morning, and not 3 weeks from now. I guess we'll see.
Jared, what do you think?
Thanks, Maricopa County.
Yeah, Maricopa County. We're missing Jason.
He got off the call real quick.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, this is gonna get spicy."
I'm out.
Fade to black.
What do you think? Jared? Where are we going here? Like, your overall ratings on Trump's performance? Like,
Look, I get it. Trump. Okay. This is the first time I have voted in any national election since Clinton.
Wow.
They've let me
Wow.
down every time. I voted all my locals. I like my local guys. I know my local guys. Again, small town. I've had the county guys on my show. I've had my congresswoman on my show like 4 or 5 times. You know, and
Yes,
she's
you
pretty
have.
good.
Yes. Yep. You've had a
You
lot
know?
of great people on your show. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah, and I like him and whatever on a personal level, but I do understand, you know, and I've called her to account right on my show. Like, why did you vote for that 702? You know, break it down for me. You told me in my home to my face that you wouldn't, and then you did. And regardless, and I understand there's party pressures.
sure.
So this go around differences I think we're seeing the Republican Party on a whole is behind Trump. That's something he didn't have last go around, and especially when he initially ran, which I think when the Republican Party gets in, you get more people in your ear saying, we need you to run this message. This is what we can get everyone behind, humana, all that crap. Right.
Right.
Well, I think that toned him down a lot. I think he's trying to win it and not have it be the doomsday call that he gets from the left, but it's going to happen anyway because Yuri Bezmenov told us the schools are producing all these nitwits, all these half-wits, and these half-wits are communist, and anything that doesn't work in their direction is their enemy. And that's what we saw before. That's what we're seeing again. We're going to continue to see it.
All right.
Um,
I like that.
Yeah. Is he going to win? Where I'm sitting here in Utah, no question. If the country voted like the tempo we have here, Trump would win, and Kamala might get 0.5% of votes through the nation. But I'm in
You're there.
I'm in a
where-
free state. I'm in a state that the Democrats are rather stifled, although I would like to see more Democrat representation in my state because we could use that to override some of the overabundance that Republicans take to themselves here.
Right.
I would imagine that comes down to enforcing religious, almost theocratic kind of aggressive laws. I could see where you would want a counterweight to that kind of stuff.
Our liquor laws are ridiculous here.
Can't get a bottle of booze, you bastards. Jesus.
Yeah. All right. One thing that I really like, and I appreciated this the first time, is I like to see an adversarial media. Even if I disagree with them, I want a media that's going to hold the government to account every time the government does something. And they do that under Republicans. That's the one time the media, even though I disagree with everything they say, I think they would be better off used as fertilizer most of the time. When there's a Republican in office, they question every move they make.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see that because if Kamala wins, the media is going to back her play on everything she does.
All right. So let me give you a quick rundown. I'll try to hit what you guys hit. Trump started slow. Okay. He got his butt kicked. All right. But it's like he was a tiger waiting for his moment to pounce on a freaking wounded animal, right? So he knew he's got some sort of wild instinct as a showman. He's got a comedic timing that for what he does and who he is just absolutely impressive. Okay, so when Joe Biden accidentally slips and expresses calling half of America garbage, Donald Trump shows up in a garbage truck and then does a rally with safety gear on. Okay. Like that homage to the working man is what's going to, if he does in fact win, that is going to be that homage, that constant homage that he offers, that wink, that nod, that those guys are jokers, they're awful, they're horrible, and we all know they are. Like that is what's going to push him over the top. That the arrogance and the condescension of people with phony degrees, okay, in underwater basket weaving, in philosophy, and in even economics. I'm making fun of myself here. Like my degree did nothing for me. You know what I mean? It's like all of those people that think they're better than the guy that brings the garbage in. That like Trump does such a great job of reaching middle class America that every last one of them has to be kind of thinking, do I want this cop psychopath who can only talk about freaking abortion? Like, I have 2 kids. Like, I don't want abortion to be the defining issue of a presidential campaign. My state has the abortion laws that I agree with, or it doesn't, and I'm going to work to fix them. But like, I think that lower middle upper class kind of working man, the HVAC guy that built a business, they got to be going, Jesus Christ, none of these other people make any sense to me. They're talking in circles and everything they say sounds like they're going to steal from me. Like or make my life harder or send one more guy in to like read my books or make sure my hiring policies aren't biased. Like fuck that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm sensing middle America's going to say tomorrow. So, and guys,
Oh, I hope so.
it's always made me laugh. And your point about the adversarial media is beautiful because I could get back to respecting media. Like when Vanderbilt Cooper took on Kamala Harris and said, like, I don't know what that word salady stuff was, but that was not an answer. It was almost that instant, that dude almost ingratiated himself back into my understanding of what media was supposed to be.
Did you see her face when he said that? She's like, wait a second.
That is
She
not
was indignant. She was like, you're my guy.
That is
Yeah,
not
it
an
was
approved
wild.
Question, not an approved question, right?
Yeah, and
not
another
all right.
crazy thing. What has the Democrat Party on whole, what have they made their enemy for the last 12 to 15 years?
Me,
White men.
you, Cody, our children.
They've
You know?
they've made men their enemy, but white men are their ultimate enemy. Every time they talk, listen to them, and they usually don't outright say it, but they beat around the bush a lot. You know, you lack of melanin, penis having people have, you know, and I think I
He's a
hope those
wordsmith.
chicks come home to roost.
Yeah, no, I do. That does go to a constant theme of mine that identity politics has been far too successful in our society. So successful now that it is rote, that it is every day. It started with Barack Obama, who offered a master class in it. But as you can see, even he can't maintain it. Like it's so base impulse tribal that even he can't do it right. Like anymore. He shit all over a group of black guys trying to tell them why and pejoratively lecture them about why they should vote for Kamala Harris. Like I don't think and so this is me giving him credit. I don't think a real human being can exist in identity politics forever, that they have to accept that they're human first. And I think even Barack Obama failed at his task, this assignment, this election cycle.
Well, demonizing a group of people because of their genitals and their skin color is a death sentence for your movement. The KKK is dead and gone.
Good point.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't the Nazi party dead and gone. It's alive in little weird areas right now. High school boys are freaking they're into it, and I think it's because it's been pushed on them over and over, and they look into it and they go, oh well, I want to see this, you know, not realizing that that's a party that regardless of if there was a World War II or not, the Nazi party's economic policies doomed them to fail regardless, no matter what.
Yeah, and they came out of the Weimar Republic, the greatest known, like the beginning of the great cultural liberal progressive concept. Okay, that where the government is writing checks that its body can't cash. Okay, and so and look, calling kids Nazis and saying there's Nazis everywhere is young men in particular are reactionary. Right?
It's had the negative effect 3 times in my town. I've seen young men saying or doing things. One, playing the old Nazi anthem on their phones,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
or openly in public. And I'm like, there's a negative effect. They have caused that backlash in these youth because they've offered these youth nothing. The kids can't
scorn and ridicule, and
they can't
behavior modifying
verbalize it.
drugs.
Yeah, they can't verbalize what's going on. They just recognize there's no future for me. How many young men, I don't care the race, have given up on school being a prosperous venture for their future?
On some level, all of them, right? Like in a way. I mean, I got my boy through it. We managed to keep him goal.
You put him in wrestling, that's why.
Yeah, I do think that had a big impact, that we had other goals that allowed him to say, I've got to do this to do that. And because he's competitive, I'm doing this as better than even I do that. So that I'm happy, like that worked. And it worked for most of the kids in his school. And I will say that, again, I complain about the Department of Education, but the local teachers, and not to a person, but most of them are there to teach, right? That they are not there engaging in identity politics. All right.
And it's not the teachers that are killing the Department of Education.
Right.
It's the administration level.
Yes, correct.
Yep, 100%.
And that's where the identity politics came into play in our school.
And the teachers union and the teachers unions.
But that's another administration level office. Teachers out here, we're a non-union state, so teachers join a union. It's usually not a teacher that runs that union.
Right.
Always a separate administrative entity.
Yeah. Some psychopath, narcissist politician. So, guys, we got to do it. Like Jared, where can people find you? What do you offer? I can tell everybody right now that Jared does a great podcast. He focuses on local politics. He has great guests. Even occasionally, the Freedom Variant shows up, and we have
anytime I can get him on there. It's called Political Head Trauma. I do it with an avowed Republican, not just an avowed. She's the county chair for the Republican Party, but she's great. Tomorrow night, we're going to try to go on live. I'm trying to bring on the Utah County Democrat chair to do kind of an election night chat, see what's going on, get the feel. And
can I say this to our libertarian friends and people, that she's what we in New York think Republicans are supposed to be. Okay. Leans conservative, leans libertarian. Actually schooled me on Mike Lee, because I was like, they're all corrupt bunch of psychopaths. And she's like, nah, Mike Lee's pretty good. You should, and then I tweet at him a little bit and I make fun of him and he answers me. And it's like, okay, so now like Massey will kind of answer me and Mike Lee will kind of answer me. They feel real. So she humanized Mike Lee for me, because he was a target of my scorn for a while.
it gets like that. It's wild when you meet him.
Yeah.
Like I thought Mike Lee was a short guy. He's not. He's as tall as I am.
Get out of here.
That shocked me in person, but he's really a personable guy, and he's charismatic to talk to. I'll say that.
I believe it. Yeah.
Our congresswoman, she is kind of salt of the earth. You remember down in Nevada where Obama sent the BLM down to take that rancher's place and they stood him off? No.
Oh, Vinicombe?
No, what was their names? Anyways, that's her uncle.
Oh, all right.
So she's in with that family. So, but then there are some. I've met some of our politicians that are like an Indian guy has to sing them out of a basket. They are snakes.
All right.
But it is what it is. Utah's a great place. I want you to come out. I want to come out to New York, fish on your lake. I want you to come out here and see what these mountains look like and do some shooting.
All right. I will shoot shit right up, brother. I will.
But yeah, come check out Political Head Trauma. It's on the everything. I'll be just doing some impromptu thing tomorrow night.
All right.
See where it goes.
So check that out. Cody Anderson, what have you been up to? What are you going to do? Do you want people to reach out to you?
No.
Retire from
No,
politics.
no one should call me unless
right.
you want to give me money for my services. I own IT consultancy, Venerable Group, and I work mainly with businesses, not for profits. That is what I do 60 hours a week, and I love what I do, and I look forward to doing it from Florida soon.
That's fantastic. Guys, I'm as many of you probably already know, I'm Tim O'Connor, the least of many evils, or the freedom variant, whichever you prefer. I do live podcasts. Kevin and I have a radio show. I love to talk to people. I love to talk about politics. And obviously I like to talk about philosophy. So thanks to Matt. Thanks to Legacy. Thanks to Shelly. Thanks to the other comments. There was probably another 50 that we missed. Thanks to the people on Twitter that joined us. Thanks to the people on Facebook that joined us. I might go live tomorrow night with Mr. Sean Hannon out of Syracuse.
Nice.
Do a little election recapping. I'm not sure if that one's going to come together still or not. But guys, Jared, especially Cody, especially we had Jason from Arizona, Maricopa County. Check out he's had like Spike Cohen on his podcast. He did some work with Gummy Bear Eater. Jesus, I forgot his
Gummy
name.
Bear Eater.
Gummy
Spike
Bear
Cohen is awesome. If you get the chance to talk to him in person, he is a great dude.
Michael
he is.
Rechtenwald, excuse me. Like,
Yeah,
look, Michael was an interesting play. The problem, like, Dave Smith is a comic. He has done more to spread the word of libertarianism as a comic than anybody else in the business. Had he run for president, he could have been made irrelevant with like 4 clips from his earlier shows, and it would have been over. So,
or would it have been more relevant?
I don't know,
dude.
I know.
Dave might have brought out that youth vote that everybody wants.
Dude, he's one of the best debaters I have ever seen.
Have you guys ever listened to his podcast, Legion of Skanks?
I do listen to that once in a while.
One you need to have thick skin and you need to be ready for.
Oh yeah,
and it's Dave's the gentle one.
That's true.
Louis J. Gomez is.
Look, for comedy and humor and on a long drive, I love it. Okay, but most of the time, like Rogan's got somebody like Graham. What's that guy's the hidden Atlantis guy?
Yeah, Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock, or something like that. Some dude that wants to talk about how the Catholic religion was formed based on use of psilocybin and tainted casks, and they found ways to like control MDMA. It's like, okay, so I love interesting conversations like that. So but Legion of Skanks is hilarious. Dave is a great debater, guys. Like, he is making the circuit over and over again, arguing with anybody that dares to argue with him. And like, some kind of Republican guy kind of outsmarted him in the conversation, but like Dave was better philosophical. It was like the only debate where I was just like, Dave didn't whoop this guy. Like, that was it. You know what I mean?
Him with Cuomo was almost hard to watch.
Yeah, not that I would ever feel sorry for a Cuomo, but
it was hard to watch.
That dude got wrecked. Did you see that, Cody?
No, I did not.
Oh my God, you should.
You should see, because it's all about COVID. He just fillets him
and brought the receipts. Patrick Bet-David brought the receipts. Just like, here. Oh, are you sure you didn't say that? Because we have a few clips I want you to go over.
And I have to say, Cuomo took it. Cuomo took it like a boss, and I respect him for that. He signed up for it, and he chewed his cud.
I can't not respect that one. I can't not respect him. Like, and dude, he's talking about voting for Trump.
I know.
So I don't know what to say. Like, it's kind of a weird timeline we're all in here.
I
you
know how many
Yeah.
different leftist podcasters have come out and said I'm voting Trump. Bridget Fedesi voting
Yeah.
Trump.
Anna Kasparian?
Anna Kasparian, that's a possible. That's up in
Yeah.
the air, but wow. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a shake up coming down right now. Right, I'm telling you, we are entering a modern day 30 years war. I
Oh,
hope
have
it ain't
you-
as bad.
Have you guys read the Fourth Turning?
Yes,
I have
Tim?
not.
3
but I've talked
times.
about it enough with people like you that I feel like I know it.
Yeah, I'm going through my third reading of it right now.
It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, and we are right there at the precipice, man, of the Fourth Turning, and it's going to be interesting to see who the White Wizard ends up being in this whole
It's me,
whole
Cody.
fight.
It's me. I keep telling everybody, you guys got to catch up here.
Look, Laura and I have this conversation like all the time. Like, Jesus, what if Trump is the White Wizard? Like, really?
Yeah.
Come on,
Oh,
come
That-
on.
one of and last kind of little bit of discussion. One of Jared and I's conversations, probably about a year and a half ago, focused on. Jared was like, I am reasonably convinced that we are going to make a hard turn towards anti-authoritarianism. And I'm like, reactionary guidelines tell me that we're going to end up with boots on all of our necks. And you made a pretty good case. You want to try to see if you can reinvent
I'd love to
that
hear
discussion?
it. I could use a little faith. That'd be
well.
good.
Well, okay. There's a lot of things to run through. Like I'm a pendulum believer. I believe in the pendulum of politics. That you swing left and you swing right and you swing back. And I would like to be one of those voices that as it comes back and starts to go right, I can break through and say, we're in a good place right here. We don't need to get revenge. We're in a good place. Let's ride this middle,
Right.
But anti-authoritarianism, I mean, there's right now gun sales are through the roof. I mean, look what happened during COVID. You had ardent left-wing progressive, whatevers, and they're asking, how do I buy guns? How do I do it?
Yeah.
You had people coming to my state to buy guns.
But was that for fear of authoritarianism, or was it for fear of the zombie apocalypse? Which one was it?
Is there a difference?
Well, there kind of is. There kind of is. Like
I was going to go with that question, though. I get it.
Yeah. I think there is, and one has to do with protecting yourself from a tyrannical government, right? The other one has to do with like shit's getting real, out of control kind of thing, right? Like.
Yeah, not to play fancy sophist with you, but what's the difference once you realize that you have a responsibility to protect yourself to
there's
the potential zombie horde or a tyrannical government?
Because I think that that working against a tyrannical government has more of a community feel to it. I think the zombie apocalypse is more of a every man for himself kind of deal.
True.
Yeah, that's sort of my.
I don't know. We had plans up here for like when The Walking Dead first came out. We had plans, and the plans would transfer very easily to more of a collapse of a tyrannical government than a tyrannical government seeking to impose its will. Like if everything collapsed, we had a plan for a system, right? A community kind of deal.
One thing to remember is that authoritarianism is always right wing. And I don't care if they come at it from a left wing value, they are right wing. They always lock down control. You had no homeless in the USSR.
Well, that's fascism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fascism, communism,
centralized.
When they start cracking down, they're always right wing. They're always controlling every part of your life. And that's why I don't really think right and left apply anymore. Because right now, in any other time in history, the Democrat Party, the party that wants all of the traditionally left-wing things, is a right-wing party.
Well, look no further than every piece of evidence of Dick Cheney to Bill Kristol saying, hey, you know what? This is a we endorse you guys. Like that is right wing nonsense. Like that's nonsense. These guys were control freaks. They're war freaks. They're imperialistic, nationalistic power freaks. Like, and there they are spearheading the new Democratic Party.
Yeah, and every one of them are complete Fabians. The Democrat Party is a Fabian party right now. They want order out of chaos. So during the riots, they supported the riots because that brought chaos, because then we'd cry for order. Right now, they want the immigration coming through in such strong numbers because it provides chaos, and then we'll scream for order. Everything they do. At times, the Republicans did the exact same thing. Yeah, it's been 30 years since they were that way, but that's what they were, and they lost bigly for it. And so I'm hoping that the Democrats lose bigly for their last chaotic maneuvers.
Bigly. All right, that's that. We can hope that tomorrow is an inflection point, a turn towards anti-authoritarianism, a turn towards where we can get back in love with our neighbors, even though they vote for someone different than we do, that we can end identity politics with the push of a button tomorrow.
How
So what
shocking
happens-
would it
so
be
what
if
happens-
Chase won?
So what happens in 2028, right?
Yeah.
That is always my thing is I always like, okay, so someone we like wins this time around. What happens in 4 years, right? And will
Nonstop
they
campaigning in the next 4 years to divide us all.
and will they double down? I looked up the FEC numbers too. Well, because I was kind of curious. Trump has raised half as much as Harris.
Half
Yeah.
as much money. That's a
Half
bad
as
sign,
much.
really.
Is it though?
I don't know.
Well,
He did.
yeah.
He did a lot. He did a lot with less last time too, in 2016, and he fucking won.
He did a lot with less than he even got this time.
Correct.
Arguably, the polls in the weird fixed game of polling, him being as close as he is, even if he's down a little bit here or up a little bit here, he's polling much better than he ever has before. And I do not think that there's any way that polling has gotten more accurate. Like, there's just no way.
And that part scares me. What if they're tricking us with the polls to get people to sit at home?
I know.
Right now, I am okay. I am going to prepare myself for a Kamala win. And then I wanted to bring up a point. What if Chase won? How I thought to myself, would that reset it? And then I thought, no, because right before the Civil War, a brand new party stepped in and took office. And then we went to war and killed 600,000 of our own people.
Wow. Wow. Well, there's a reason to not vote for Chase right there. Potential Civil War.
Look, and the betting. If you're looking at the betting markets right now, which I think are sort of a more accurate predictor.
People that know money know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So money knows things.
So it's 57.7 Trump and 40.7 Harris is kind of the RCP average right now on
That's wild
on Real Clear polling. So we'll see. I think, but everything consistently, what I'm seeing in the betting markets right now is that Trump wins. It appears to be the popular vote.
If he wins the popular, how weird would it be if the Republicans and Democrats change their message on the Electoral College?
Oh my God.
It would just prove that everybody is fake. Everybody is so full of shit.
So to that note, like, who pivots more seamlessly in that situation? Like, the Democrats change their tune so fast. Do the Republicans do the same thing, or do they still say, "Oh yeah, no, you got us"? The Electoral College is really
That's the next betting market. Who pivots the quickest? But
fair enough.
I think the only way we don't have riots is if one party wins both.
I don't think that'll do it either. I think that there's going to be some, at
You're-
the very least, pockets of demonstrations that
Yeah.
should look. City life has devolved into, where we go into next week's protests, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Well, maybe that's why we hold elections in November and not in April.
that's pretty smart. It's just a little chilly out.
Mhm.
All right. So my betting app that I have is associated with Robinhood, which, as you guys know, is the most accurate predictor of everything and anything, and the most efficient purveyor of stocks worldwide. And that is not a paid endorsement, though. If they want to pay me, I'll accept.
I've got
Donald,
I've got my non-existent millions with them.
yeah,
Don't worry, they'll take it
Exactly.
back if they were to pay you anyway.
yeah. Donald Trump's at 58 cents, and Kamala Harris is at 44 cents, which is arguably $1 So there's something wrong with their betting market. But okay, I don't care. Not my problem.
Man, we're in a wild time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're in a wild time. We've been cursed, and I'm afraid that this country stared too long into the darkness.
And they saw me staring back at it.
Yeah.
Now that's scary.
I think we stared too long at the USSR, and it stared back.
There is an argument that we've lost some sort of our soul to a control-oriented philosophy and a condensing of power, that we will be the best communists ever, that it will be arguably a fascistic combination of big business and big government providing just exactly what everybody needs based on how they define what everybody needs. And I am afraid of that. Like that's real. So who knows?
Tried in China, proven in the US.
Look, it's working. It's working in China. Like we can't deny for the Chinese.
I don't know how China's dying on the vine right now. Per the reports, I haven't been there. Have you guys ever heard of a guy named James Corbett?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
He wrote Shogun.
No,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, but he's been saying this forever, that China is where they're testing all these different authoritarian things. And he says the goal is to bring them here, but they test them there. And if it kind of works, then they move it into a different country and then to another country, and they spread it. Vote for Harambe.
I could see that as something that the Chinese government would sell, like an opportunity to impose a set of rules on a province to see how it works. It wouldn't surprise me. Certainly, they've implemented a credit system, a social credit system that is certainly making its way around the European nations now and is knocking on the door of America. So,
well, all I got to say is thank God for tyrants, because they always go a little too far that stops them from achieving their goal.
The problem
Stalin destroyed his bread basket.
We don't have a
Xi
Stalin.
Jinping destroyed his economic base. Tyrants always do something that stops them from achieving world domination.
The CCP is a tyrannical system. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So there's no escaping a system that is the tyrant. That's, I think, arguably, not to paint a negative picture at the end of the podcast, but the USA system is authoritarian, is autocratic.
Oh, yes.
It's literally there. We don't even have a president who does anything, right? Except for just go ahead and take your adrenochrome and go to sleep and wake up and give a half a speech or whatever. Like, the system has become the tyrant. I feel that that's harder to beat than a person.
It's the bureaucracy. We're drowning under bureaucracy. I mean, imagine this. Imagine what China would be had Mao not put in the one-child policy.
I can't.
It would be unstoppable.
I can't even, right?
But that one-child policy destroyed China's ability to conquer the world.
Yeah, they're not done yet, though. They got the long game. Guys, all right, that's it. 3 hours and 17 minutes. That's a broadcast record for the Freedom Variant. Jared, as always, brother, it has been an absolute pleasure. Cody Anderson, once again, if you need infrastructure, computer for like your nonprofit, your NGO, like he can.
My NGO? No, I don't do NGO. How dare you?
He can fix it.
How dare you?
Cody, it was awesome to meet you, man. It
Jared,
really
you
was.
Too. Very, very much a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I dig it when someone has that that mindset like mine.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that part of the problem is when we get three like minds like us, we go down wormholes that frighten off normies, and we have to fix that. Or do we? Maybe they'll think more themselves. So
Maybe they
Well,
can grab
I'm
it in bites.
you know what, and I'm good one-on-one. Like I can have rational conversations with commies and they'd say, yeah, you got a good point. But
yeah.
but then they vote otherwise. That's
I would say, Cody, that was one of the things that about our party and our interaction through the years was that at the very least, we're kindred spirits in the fact that we can talk to people other than libertarians and
yeah.
leave them with the sense that we're cool with them, they're cool with us, and that there's potential collaborations available. So
Yep.
we need more of that. Hopefully we get there someday.
I agree.
Good
All
luck,
right,
everybody.
you guys have a good night.
All right.
right.
Take care, brother.
Take
Hey,
care,
thank
Tim.
you.
Take care, Jared.
Yeah,
Have a good
thank
night.
you, man.
Good to meet you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.